What is up? What is going on? Let's get this thing started. I see 30 people already in the building. Like to see that. Like to see the numbers jump right up as soon as I hit the go button. I like to can't talk. Like to take the time to show some appreciation to everybody in the building right now. Let's get this thing going. Let's get it rolling. Let's get it popping. Let's go.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mumia Obsidian Ali. You know who I am. I need no introduction, right? And you're listening to the Grown Man Hour with my man Bernard Riley, heard weekdays right here on YouTube. What do you think about that? How about that? Now let's get back on with the show. Thank you.
What's up, good people? What's up, good people? Glad to be back in here for another Monday. You see the title, you see the thumbnail, you see the old man is making his return. He's been missing in action, laying low lately, laying a bit low lately, but the old man is back, is returning today. He, if you follow his community tab, or if you're a Patreon member of him, you know that he posted something recently about a back and forth, so to speak, that he had with the one and only Aaron G. Fountain, aka Exposed the Manosphere. And yeah, the old man has come to the conclusion that the Manosphere does not have honest critics. A lot of critics have been popping up. A lot of people have been making channels just built off responding to the Manosphere. In many ways, trolling the Manosphere. Not against the law, not a crime. You can literally make a channel that's just a contrarian channel. I remember when I was into early stages of starting my channel. My woman actually said, because she would hear me pick apart things that people that we would call simps. Really, the correct word is white knights. But she would hear me picking apart white knights online, Derek Jackson being one of them. And she was like, you should start a YouTube channel just responding to their stuff. And I was like, you're reading my mind. So I'm well aware of that game, of the response game, the response video game, the reaction video, the analysis of other content creators. That is a thing. That is definitely a thing. Some people will do critical breakdown and analysis of other of celebrities going on. What's going on with the celebrities. Hell, O'Shea does that, for that matter. That's essentially what O'Shea do. That is essentially what O'Shea does. Give me a second. I apologize. Unprofessional. Looking down at my phone, but yeah, no, I be checking on things as I'm on the air doing things. I be looking at stuff. All right, had to check on something, but yeah, sometimes people will just do response and reaction videos to celebrity stuff. What's going on with celebrities? But then some people, I guess, come down a notch and do essentially grow their channel based off of reactions to what other people on YouTube are doing. I say it's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people call it clout chasing. I say it's technically nothing wrong with that. The only thing that I measure somebody on is how are they doing it? Do they just got random names in the title? Just random names in the title, but they really just want to talk about whatever they want to talk about. Shout out to ARC when the Saint in the Center responded to ARC. Now, the Saint in the Center did give some areas where he had some legitimate disagreement with Mode 1, but really he just used Alan Roger Curry's name in Mode 1 as just a springboard for him to, I guess, draw an audience in so he could talk about himself. ARC pointed that out. 75% of what he talked about, well, maybe 70s. I don't know the exact number, but it was a high number. I would say better than 50%. Definitely better than 50% of everything that he talked about was just him talking about himself. So you can kind of say that that's out of pocket. Where I draw the line at is what I always say when I would do, and I'm going to start back doing it, the Bernard Raleigh reviews. I say I attack ideas and not people. I like to criticize the words that are coming out of their mouths. What are they saying and what's wrong with what they're saying? Somebody putting bad ideas out there. Well, here are better ideas. This is where they're wrong. This is where I'm right. This is where this philosophy is messed up. Here's a better philosophy. This is a better way of thinking. This is a better way of analyzing things. Put their ideas out there. I put my ideas out there. May the best ideas win. That is, when somebody is doing it that way, I have zero criticism at all. But when you do it that way, you got to be honest. You have to be, as you like is worded in the title and the thumbnail, and you have to be an honest critic. There's no other way around that. And those that are not honest critics, then what are they doing? How does that work? Because you get some that range everywhere from just saying something that's a little misleading, a little out of context, and that happens. Then you get some that just go just full scale, let me completely misrepresent and personally attack this person in every way, shape, or form. You get those ones, I can't rock with that. I can't get jiggy with that at all. But there are those who are legitimate, honest critics of the person that they're going after, for better words. And I don't mind that. I don't mind honest critique. One of the first videos I did on YouTube, actually the second video, the first video I ever did on YouTube, I took it down. It was trash. But the second one that I did, bad audio, the mic sound funny, my voice I didn't even sound like me. But it was a response to a Derek Jackson video where I thoroughly picked apart everything that was wrong with what he was saying with no personal attacks. I just gave an honest, fair critique of the ideas. And that's where I'm at with it, and that's where I try to stay with it. But almost forgot. Shout out to the early bird squad, those that make it in bright and early. Drop a comment before we get things going. Shout out to Logan JJ. Appreciate you coming on through. Mr. Shane Vicious says this should be some interesting fookery. I don't know why you say that. What's going to be some effery about it? Don't know why you think that this is effery. Does the Manosphere have honest critics? That doesn't ring effery. Daryl L. II says, dun, dun, dun. Old man returns. Sodomy and chicken. You took a bad thing and a good thing and put it together. That's just it. Anyway. Queen Q in the building. Goodman ending chat. Yeah, while my text speech is trash. Good morning, chat. Queen Q says, this time it's morning. What critics? I thought everyone loved Oh Man. Well, it's about Manosphere critics today. Manosphere critics in general. Those that criticize the Manosphere. That is what we will be talking about today. Black Man Travels. I think you emailed me. I don't know if I responded. Don't take it personal. Red Sings the Blues, who I had on this show, it took like a month or two before we got our wires uncrossed to where we started working together. So my bad. Just email me again. There's a few people that email me. Sometimes I will star it with hopes and intentions of getting back to it, and I may or may not end up getting back to it. So just email me again. But let me see what's going down here. Queen Q, I had no idea. I just click on the first 10 comments, and I'm sorry that that your autocorrect did you wrong. I don't know what that was. Oh man. Shout out to Justin March. Shout out to you with the $1.49. And also shout out to Osama Abdul in the building. Says, what's good, BR? Is the old man, see, his autocorrect is not doing him right either, coming on today? Yes. That's why the title is Obsidian versus Manosphere Critics, Volume 1. There's no plans of a ongoing series of that, but that was me throwing it out there that I think that would be a good series to do a sort of sober, sort of judicious, sort of sober, mostly judicious breakdown of people who have their critiques of the Manosphere. I was actually planning on doing, I said it a while ago that Expose the Manosphere made a video that I felt offered or warranted a precise edited video type of response to it. Not just some long-winded live stream response. No, I wanted to make about a 9 to 10 minute video and just make a very precise response to something that he said. Because what he said, it wasn't directed right at me, but it was, he said something that, I think it's time to start responding to him. I think that he's, started out writing. He started out just doing his writing. And oh, by the way, Osama Abdu,
these last $2, I'm not gonna lose.
Appreciate your $2 super chat. Osama, not Osama. Like I said, Aaron G. Found, he started out doing his writing and gradually transitioned over to doing YouTube. And when he first started doing YouTube, I was just like, okay, that's cute. Okay, whatever. But he's gradually grown it over time. He's I don't know, has probably somewhere in the area of 2,500 subs on one of his channels. He could drop a video and can get anywhere from, a couple thousand to sometimes 5,000 views or more. He has a functioning channel at this point. He's not just like, he's not just like some little, well, one could still say he's just throwing rocks at the throne, so to speak. But no, he's put in the work. He has a channel. He takes his time and does good work with it. Does some good some good editing, and I a lot of people talk about and a lot of people say that how he takes a lot of things out of context. Only thing I could say to that, even though there are some things that I know that he kind of on some bull right there, but there are situations where he'll play a clip from a panel, and I didn't see the conversation. I don't know what was going on there, but I would hear the person involved say, "Hey, they kind of misrepresented where I was going with that." Now, the one time that he played an actual clip of me talking, because he normally just play a clip of me silent, where he's talking, but then there would just be a clip of me, and you'll just see me going. That's what you'll just see me doing. Just talk. You won't hear my voice. You'll just see me on the screen, where he'll be talking about something that doesn't reflect my opinion, but he'll be showing me. But there was one time that he did show me and showed me talking. It was when I was quoting some stats that clearly I misspoke. Anybody listening to that knows that I clearly misspoke when I said something incorrectly. I was trying to talk about how many black men were projected to possibly vote for Trump in the 2020 election, but I accidentally no, I was talking about that, but then I transitioned into talking about how many people actually voted for him in the 2016 election, and I made a mistake and said that projected number. So I said the wrong number at the wrong time. Anybody listening could tell where I messed up, that it was just an honest mistake, as they say, charge it to my mind, not my heart or whatever. But it was just an honest slip up, honest slip of the tongue. I said the wrong number in the wrong place. Anybody could tell that, but he went on and played it as if, these guys just throwing out crazy stats here. So the one time that I saw that he had me talking, I was like, he kind of took that out of context. Or I made an honest mistake that anybody listening could tell it was an honest mistake. Like my chat room corrected me immediately, as they always do. So he does do a bit of that. Well, other people say he does a bit of that. There are situations where, like I said, if it's not me involved in it, I don't know if he got that person out of context. I personally don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't get the context. I don't know what the person meant to say or didn't say. Now, there are some people that say some crazy stuff, and he gets it right on with that. I mean, there's nameless, faceless people in the chat room who say crazy stuff, and there's some people that hop on some panels and say some crazy stuff, and sometimes some people let some crazy stuff ride. So that happens, but then there are a lot of times where he will literally get somebody out of context. According to the person who said it, they will say, "No, I actually said this. I really meant this." Or I said this, but I meant to say this. It was clear that I meant to say this. Or if you just listen 1 minute longer, you will see me explain the point. Or if you go a minute before, you will hear me explaining what I'm saying. So he does. So a lot of people accuse him of doing a clip thing. I didn't know if they were absolutely right or wrong. All I know is that when he used a clip of me talking, it was kind of it was kind of low. It was kind of low. It was kind of low. But shout out to Wizard X in the building. Shout out to Wizard X with the $5 super chat. Wizard X says, looking forward to 2024. Dems are bad for business. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Sick Lid, part of the $10 Nation.
What do we get for $10? Everything you want. Everything? Everything. You.
Sick Lid says, oh man, selling thousands of copies of his book. Bernard making thousands in the stock market. The Manosphere be winning. Absolutely. I can't wait for old man to come up here. Let me make sure I sent him the link. I can't wait for him to come up here so I can ask him about that. Because his book, as I understand it, has been doing quite well. So let me try to re-get him this link so he can make his way on up here. So he can make his way on up here. I didn't necessarily feel like rambling. Shout out to Brother Xavier in the building.
Only from TPOT Media. Open your minds.
The Prophet of Thought series. X from the Prophet of Thought series from TPOT Media says, what is being exposed exactly is like shining a flashlight on a sunny exposing would be showing something not already seen. I think you mean exposing. Yeah, I mean, shining a flashlight on a sunny. I think you just mean just something that's already exposed out in the open that's shiny. Something putting a flashlight on something in a broad daylight. Not like he's talking about behind the scenes footage. So that's a really good point. That's a really good point, X. I didn't even think about it like that. Sodomy and Chicken says, who is Aaron G. Fountain? He's the guy who does the Exposed to Manosphere channel. He's the guy who does that. Or the Tracking the Manosphere. I think that's the other one. E. Capone in the building. E. Capone in the building. Shout out to you. Appreciate you coming on through. Yeah, that's interesting. Some people don't know who he is. I mean, his channel is relatively small. He's a PhD candidate, as I understand it. I don't know his history. I don't look into the man's life like that, but I just understand at a basic level that he's on his way to getting a PhD, and he used to do a lot of writing about the manosphere, and he recently, as I would say roughly a year ago, I don't know exactly how long ago, but at some point, at some point he started a YouTube channel, and I've more or less ignored it. Duck in and watch it here and there. I'm just like, oh, that's cute. He's doing his YouTube thing. That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. But it's growing. It's growing. And I deem it. I think it's grown to the point to where it's worthy of a response. Put it like that. The Manosphere creates content for him. That's the issue. What do you mean by creates content for him? If somebody is just listening in the clouds to the Manosphere and then making content about the stuff that he makes content about what he hears people in the Manosphere say, then that's really an unavoidable thing when you say they're making content for him. Now, if you're going the route of saying there's some people in the Manosphere who just religiously say some stupid stuff, then a point can be made there that the stupid stuff that people are saying, that's giving him the content for him to take it and do what he wants to do with it. The problem that he gets into when he doesn't stay narrowly focused on a content creator in the straight line of thought that an individual content creator has, but instead he takes the jumbled up opinions from everybody from a well thought out content creator all the way down to some nameless, faceless guy in the chat with nothing to lose, no care, no concern, who just wants to just come in and just say something wild, random, wacky, and crazy, or some random guy who hops on a panel and says something kind of stupid. See, the problem with that is, I ducked in on a panel where it was Nyla, Cynthia G, and Irene. I listened in the clouds for like 10 minutes. And I saw Aaron G. Fountain down there, just he and haw and having a good time. And Aaron G. Fountain also said himself that it's going to come a day where he's going to not be doing these type of videos, but he emboldened other people to do it, to make the type of content. He said, I had no idea how to edit videos last year, so you can do what I'm doing here. Okay, but what he doesn't understand, that even if I take it that he's an honest critic with, disagreements, but still good intentions. A lot of the people that follow him, a lot of people that comment in his chat are a lot of people that say some of the most horrendous things about black men. And he's in chat rooms with people who say some of the most horrendous things about black men. So it gets to a point where if he's going to be criticizing the manosphere based off nameless, faceless people in the chat that don't have channels, or people that hop on panels that don't have channels, but not taking the consistent line of thought of an individual content creator, if he's going to do it, if he's going to go that route, then he's putting himself in a situation too, because if he's emboldening people to do what he do, and he just like there's a black manosphere, or there's a manosphere, if he ultimately creates expose the manosphere sphere where there's lots of people like him, there's going to be a lot of black male haters, abort black babies, people with abort black male baby rhetoric that's going to be in his camp. And we already could technically hold him responsible because he's hanging out in chat rooms. Like, I mean, if he's hanging out in Cynthia G's chat room, if he can hang out on a panel and hang out in a chat room, he and ha and just having a good time with on a Cynthia G led panel, and all of the type of people that they bring in, then we would be able to accurately hold him responsible for everything that's said in every chat room that he hangs out in. We would be able to hold him responsible for every little thing that's said around him. You see, that's where he gets that's where he loses all logic to me, when he doesn't follow what an individual content creator is saying and follow their points all the way home. But instead he bounces all over the place and will talk about something that a content creator said, and then we'll go all the way to Thunderfoot 69 in the chat room who said this, to random guy on the panel. Like, he even uses the term Manosphere dude. Like, just some random Manosphere dude. Like, that's all that like that all it takes is for somebody to just hop on a panel once, or be semi-regular on panels, and say something stupid, and the Manosphere says, that's where he gets ridiculous to me. And when he gets ridiculous to me on that type of stuff, it's to a point now that he congregates in certain circles. He's building an audience from those certain circles, the black man hating circles. He doesn't realize he's built the same type of base that he criticizes. He doesn't realize that, or maybe he does realize that he's done that. So yeah. Holy shit, here we go, Gabe A. You says, hanging out in chat rooms and laughing at things he finds funny equates to agreeing with their points. Y'all gotta lighten up, fellas. No. The point that I'm making is that he does the same thing to the manosphere. He takes things that people say in chat rooms, or the things that people say in chat room, he equates it like we agree with all of those points. The people in our chat rooms who say crazy stuff, he takes all that, puts a big circle around it, and says it's manosphere. So all I'm doing to him is the same thing that he does to the manosphere. Like, come on, you can't possibly miss that point, Gabe A. I don't know how you can miss that point. Obsidian down in the back chat, about to bring Obsidian up real soon. But come on. Just say, hanging out in chat rooms and laughing at things he agree with, and making statements. Listen. I think y'all understand my simple point. I probably don't need to belabor that anymore. But Gabe, that was ridiculous. I'm not just sitting here saying he can't be over there in those chat rooms. What I'm saying is that there's a sphere orbiting around him as well. And if we take every single person in the sphere that orbits around him, and we can charge him up the same way that he charges the manosphere up. Because just like there's some people that come in on some BS and be saying some ridiculous stuff in the manosphere, there's a sphere that orbits around him that says a lot of ridiculous stuff as well. So we should be able to hold him responsible to all of that ridiculous stuff that he's comfortable being around. Like that's his argument as to why he can go after Firefly 69 in the chat room of a Manosphere content creator. Come on, Gabe. All right. Let's get this going. Let's get this started. We got 333 people in the building. I have no idea where we at on the likes, so let's go ahead and get these likes up. Get this thing going, get it popping. We got the old man in the building. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Bernard?
Another day at the office. Before we get into the honest critics or lack of honest critics in the manosphere, the world must know, Obsidian. Where the hell have you been?
Yeah, it's been kind of wild. So the past week, I had some. I don't want to go into all the detail, but I had to take a step back for a minute, and it was interesting. So I'm laying in the cut in the undisclosed location, right, in my bunker. And one of my best friends, my buddy Zam, he contacted me. He said, "Listen, man, did you know that Kevin shouted you out on this show last night? Yo, man, the people been going bananas." I said, "Excuse me?" So he told me, yeah, man, he put your book on blast, man, and everybody going crazy. And I'm kind of in a quasi state of delirium. So I'm thinking, he's kind of pulling my leg or whatever. So I went and checked it, and I was, oh my God, So and then I went and looked up on Amazon and everything. It was real. So, oh my God, So I, contacted Kevin to thank him profusely, and let me thank him publicly for putting the brother on like that. And so I didn't even know that he had did that until my buddy Zam told me, because I had been, things have been so crazy behind the scenes that I had to take a step back for a minute. And I'm glad that I did, because gave me a chance to kind of unwind a little bit as I ease back into things now. But yeah, it's been a wild week. It's been a very wild week.
Let's talk about, I don't know if you want to disclose, the exact number of book sales, but being number one on Amazon in that particular category, like just speak on that for a moment, because
it's not, I mean, this is all publicly accessible information. In order for you to hit the Amazon bestseller list, you need to move somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 copies every day for like a week. In order for you to hit number one, you need to hit somewhere between 3,500 and 5,000 in a day.
Whoa.
So.
Whoa. Yeah, that stopped me in my tracks right there.
Yeah. In order for you to make the New York Times bestseller list, you need to move somewhere between 10 and 20,000 in a week.
So, understanding it right, you're saying that after that shout out, you moved roughly 3,500 or so of the I guess the Kindle version of your book.
That would be Kindle, because paperback was sold out instantly.
Wow. I'm speechless on that one. I didn't know that information. I had no idea what how the numbers played out. Generally, how many sales would get you number one. For all I knew, just a I don't know, 100. I have no idea. I have no idea. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
When I was doing the research for the book, I studied all this stuff, and yeah, I looked at it. I was like, wow. So yeah, in order for you to, and Amazon is very tricky with their whereas with New York Times has been around, with the New York Times bestseller list has been around since the early 30s, but Amazon is much newer, and they're similar to YouTube's algorithm. It's something that's kind of like the secret sauce that's very proprietary, like Tony Stark's arc reactor. It's like very proprietary and secret. So they don't want everybody figuring it out. But eventually, the numbers came through, and it's essentially, in order for you to hit the top 10 in any category, you need to move somewhere between 2,500 and I think it's like around 2,500 copies every day for a week at minimum. And in order for you to hit number one, you need to hit anywhere between 3,500 and 5,000 in one day in a 24-hour period in order to hit number one. So yeah. And when I looked at those numbers before all this happened, this is back in 2019, I was like, okay, how do I do that? So my thing was to just, if I could just break the top, for a very first time author out the gate, if I just got in the top 20, great. That's all I was hoping for. So to hit number one on Amazon, that is still I'm still kind of pinching myself with that, So yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. Jermaine Lewis in the building. He says, I saw a live where Concrete Rose or Sister George denied the 51% of black men are single and childless stats. They probably got that from Aaron G. Fountain. He did a video that I'll do a response to that video where he was breaking down Manosphere stats, and he didn't refute the 51% single and childless. He just pointed out that by the time black men reach a certain age, black men of a certain age, I don't know if it's over 40 or over 45 or by the age of 50, I forgot exactly what it was, 80% of them have kids. And I'm like, okay, yeah, they've clearly passed over the average marital age for a black man is I think the age is 33. 35. That's the average age that a black man get married. So yeah, men significantly past the marital age are probably going to have more kids than men 35 and under. I think he said between the stat of 25 to 29, I think 29% of black men have kids, and that's the second. That's not the highest because Hispanic and Latinos are higher than us when it comes to that regard. He pointed out that the stat it's skewed because it starts all the way back down to, with 15-year-olds, which I understand that's that could skew it a little bit. But I mean, if we're talking from 15 to 18 or 16 to 18, okay, that little small sliver right there may skew it a little bit, but not to the point to where it's going to throw it off that much. So he played around. He tried to put some extra context on the numbers that I think I'm going to explain in the video why I think it actually helped our argument. If black men during prime breeding, mating, sexual ages, from 18 to 35 are not just banging out a whole bunch of kids, just putting a whole bunch of kids out there, that still strengthens our argument. When he said that 29% number, that strengthens the argument that we're making. But yes, you would expect men to, by a certain age, to have had children. If you're pushing it all the way up to in between 40 and 50, yes, that's the age where men have settled down and had families. Whether they got married or not is another thing. But I do think by the age of 35, a man has sat down somewhere and have been with one woman for an extended period of time and probably had some children. Like, that's expected that number would go up when it gets higher and would be lower when he gets younger. But if it all meets in the middle to where 51% do not have children, how did you refute the point? But anyway. in the building says it's been a minute, so here's a drive-by to let the 5 fly. I'll catch it on the replay, so please be safe, everyone. Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. We also got wait, hold on. Let's see. We got some more people in the building. Black Wolf Inc. in the building says good brothers are reunited for another mission. Shout out to you. Shout out. Justin March in the building, dropping a $10 super chat saying congratulations to the old man. Absolutely. Osama Abdu in the building. Salute to the old man for all the well-deserved accolades his book is getting. He has been hands down the most instrumental force with his blueprint for Black men. Shout out to Osama Abdu. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for the super chat and the kudos that you gave to the old man. All right.
By the way, I'm completely sold out of my personal stock of books. If anybody wants to order a personal autograph signed copy, I'm taking pre-orders right now. I need about 50 of them in order to re-up on another shipment. So I need about 50 pre-orders if you want a signed autograph copy of the Book of Obsidian. If you make a generous donation to Bernard's show while we're on the air right now, you'll get one. I'll consider that part of the pre-order. So I need about 50 of them. So in order to get another re-up, things have been crazy with my publisher, Book Baby, too. By the way, they've been, being slammed with orders. So yeah, it's been very interesting. So.
SKC in the building says, interestingly, Fountain's brand of politics aligns with some in the Manosphere. Oh, get out of there, SKC. How does that happen?
I wonder how. Well, I'm sorry. Please continue with this.
How does that happen? I wonder what you two think about that. You could go over real quick. There, I said it. Says congrats, oh man, thank you. There, I said it. Okay, you could take that one. You could take that one.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I didn't know that. I don't know what is his brand of politics. I have no idea what it is.
I would assume he's very liberal or progressive.
Well, according to his most recent video, the argument that he makes with regard to the Manosphere, and he doesn't seem to make much differentiation between the white and the black sides of it, for reasons that I will be interested in him explaining. But in any event, he seems to typify the Manosphere as being pretty much alt-right. So I'm curious to know from SKC exactly how elements of or aspects of Fountain's personal politics dovetail with that of the Manosphere, because again, Fountain typifies the Manosphere as center right, and he typifies center left. So I'm trying to understand it.
SKC was taking a jab at Man of Tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah. There's a I don't know if I don't want to misrepresent anybody and just say liberal, but for lack of a better way to describing it, there's a liberal and or progressive pushback to the conservative ideas, views, and values that the Black Manosphere tends to uphold.
Yeah,
there's that. There's a growing sector of that, I'll say, and yeah, if it's anything that the Manosphere should be divided on, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be liberal policies that may or may not help black people or may not help black men versus conservative views and values. It's a growing sector that refers to it as cultural trolling without any policies, and or shames or uses the term cultural warrior as a pejorative. And my personal view on that is I don't mind a cultural warrior as long as the thing that he's being a cultural warrior for is a genuinely good cause. Now, one could argue whether or not how much of that is political, because politics are about policies. So I understand where he's going with that, but still, if a culture is messed up and somebody is being a cultural warrior, and the thing that they're fighting for is a good cause, I just don't understand why somebody would be against that, even if they think policy wise liberal policies do more for black people. So that's where I don't understand a little split, a little divide that I'm seeing happening right there. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't either. But in any event, I guess we're here to discuss whether me versus the Manosphere critics, right? So this has been a very, like I said last week, I kind of had to take a step back from things. And I've been thinking about this a long time. So we have whom I affectionately refer to as St. Kevin. So we have Kevin Samuels over the past year holding forth. And it's been a real object lesson in what I refer to as issues from the Negro in the Kevin Samuels edition. Because, for the past year, I've been watching black folk, and to be fair, this isn't a gender thing, because I've been seeing black men do this as well. So I can't lay this solely at the feet of black women. I've been watching black men and black women just kind of going off the rails in their responses and reactions to Kevin. And, I don't have a problem with people disagreeing. That's not the issue I have. The issue I have is how they do it. I mean, all of the, homophobia, all of the, just, really distasteful, personal doxing, all of the name calling. I mean, it just really takes things to a new low. Yesterday, I was, as I was getting myself together in the morning, I tuned in to Dr. Boyce Watkins, not the Boyce Watkins, excuse me, Freudian slip. I tuned into Dr. Jordan Peterson. And he had on a lovely lady by the name of Barry Weiss. Many black folks may not know who she is. Barry Weiss was a very prominent voice at the New York Times. Center left, Jewish, Zionist, the whole Megillah. And she was basically ran out of the New York Times on anti-Semitic grounds. So she has taken to becoming an independent journalist. I followed her for some time. Like her work. Columbia grad. Got her started at the Wall Street Journal. Sharp lady. And they had a wonderful multi-hour conversation. Her name is Barry, B-A-R-I, Barry Weiss. I juxtaposed that. Now I'm going to bring up the name Dr. Boyce Watkins. I juxtaposed that with Dr. Boyce Watkins and his now wife, it's official, Dr. Alicia Watkins. So both of these are, PhDs. And they did a live stream yesterday regarding Kevin Samuels and Derek Jackson, ostensibly. And comparing the two lives is like comparing night and day. You got Dr. Jordan Peterson and Barry Weiss on one side. You got the doctors Boyce and Alicia Watkins on the other. And it's, oh my God, it's like night and day, man. My God. I mean, it's embarrassing, to tell you the truth. It's embarrassing. I mean, this is the best that Black America, this is supposed to be the best and brightest. And their argument against Kevin Samuels, they didn't even talk about Derek. Their argument against Kevin Samuels is they don't like what he's saying about black women because of the thumbnails. They admit by their own admission, they have listened to none of Kevin's content in more than a calendar year. These are two PhDs now. They listened to none of his content and made a judgment about his content predicated on the thumbnails that they said were unflattering to black women and said virtually nothing about Jared Jackson, a confirmed, this is not my opinion, confirmed dark triad artist and malignant narcissist. Confirmed. It's not a matter of opinion. The man is shot through with psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism. They had nothing to say about that. But what they had to say about Kevin was predicated on thumbnails. Compare and contrast. Dr. Jordan Peterson, Barry Weiss on one side, the doctors Boyce and Alicia Watkins on the other. Compare and contrast.
Well, that's bad. That's bad if their argument is thumbnails. That's bad. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. I'm trying to think. Well, in the particular stream that you're talking about, I'm not going to go into the archives of things that they've said before, but in that particular stream, you're saying they offered nothing that had anything to do with any content, any words that came out of Kevin Samuels' mouth. It was
None.
all thumbnails.
None. And again, even though it was ostensibly to address both men, very little was said about Jackson. So here's what I'm getting at. And this goes back to Aaron Fountain, a PhD candidate in history at the Indiana University at Bloomington. See, I think in both cases, and Dr. Boyce Watkins also attended Indiana University briefly, this is not about sober and judicious, dispassionate discussion of the issues where we attempt to use the tools of the Enlightenment to ferret out the truth and the facts. What this is, and I'm addressing these people specifically to make a broader point. What this is a thinly veiled, deeply emotional series of issues for these men, Mr. Fountain, Dr. Watkins. And if you will kindly recall, Bernard, recently you and I had a conversation about this point, about how black men cannot be emotional. That is to say, black men cannot be informed by their inner emotional lives on issues. We must address issues as if we are soulless, emotionless androids, sticking only to facts, data, and statistics. I pushed back against that argument, saying that to only focus on that to the exclusion of anything else is to deny what makes us human. Part of the problems in Black America right now is precisely just that. The way we being Black American society, we being Black culture, and yes, Black women are the keepers of the culture, dehumanize Black boys and men. We routinely do it. And it manifests itself in various ways, and the effects of it and the impacts of it manifests itself in various ways. See, what I think is going on here with Mr. Fountain and Dr. Watkins is that the Black manosphere in general, and in the case of Dr. Watkins in particular with regard to Kevin Samuels, we and he have evoked powerful feelings in Dr. Watkins and in Mr. Fountain that they are not allowed to publicly express because Black American culture, which again, Black women are the keepers of. I'm going to keep highlighting that because as Dr. Jordan Peterson rightly pointed out to Miss Kathy Newman several years ago during their highly contentious interview, women have the role to play here. See, Black women don't want to accept that they have a role to play here. That's not to say that they are solely to blame. They are not, but they have a role to play. When Kathy Newman asked Dr. Jordan Peterson, What does any of this have to do with women? Read white women. Dr. Peterson's response was, well, what kind of men do you want? Do you want somebody who's an overgrown child? Or do you want somebody that you have to contend with who can help you? Dr. Jordan Peterson recognized, and white society recognized, that white women have a role to play in the kind of men that they create. In Black American society, Black women want to be both a victim and a queen, which is the reason why in my book I have a chapter called The Victim Queen. Black women want to be victims when it suits them, and then they want to be queens when it suits them. You cannot make incompetent men and then turn around and act like you ain't got nothing to do with the incompetent men. You have a role to play in that, ladies. You have a role to play.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me get to these super chats and let me get this one off the screen because, yeah, for some reason, there's people in the audience that thinks a $5 super chat from a woman from the Philippines means I'm going SYSBM or something. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I mean, I take more than $5 to buy me, but but anyway. Lynn's journey through life says, hello from the Philippines, trying to get a few of my friends here so they can see a brother speaking facts and not fake news. Love your content. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Who else we got in the building? Snuggles in the building says, let the games begin. Jessica X, you have the Pacific Island against the European islands. New challenger. Okay. Don't know what y'all be talking about half the time, but thank you. I appreciate everybody supporting the show. We got Kareen Henry says Barry Weiss is also a member of the LGBT community. I don't know what exactly that has to do with the greater point that Obsidian made, but Black folks tend to do that a lot. I remember when I made a point about monogamy that was made by what was the guy's name? I forgot his name. I cannot remember his name, but he writes and says and speaks a lot on monogamy and how human beings are not naturally monogamous. It's a social construct, and we have to, actually work hard to do it, essentially for the greater good. He makes really good points on that, and somebody wanted to just infuse into the conversation. Hey, wait a minute, but he gay. I'm like, okay, what he's talking about right now has nothing to do with that. So
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad because I just said that in the chat room. So I'm asking Miss Henry, what does Miss Weiss's personal life have to do with the point that I'm making here? What difference does it make? Please explain. Maybe she can. Matter of fact, I'm not going to tell you how to run your show, but if she could super chat it or just post it, I'm really.
No, she already super chatted. So if she just comment regular, that's fine. I'll read it. But listen. I only have a problem with a gay person is when they overreach while pushing a gay agenda. If I see an overreach in pushing their agenda, then okay, I have a problem with that. But if they're talking about basketball and they think Steph Curry is a better basketball player than James Harden, that has nothing to do with their sexuality. They can be right or wrong on the merits.
Yeah, the argument, and there's a gentleman in the chat room named Why Not. He says the LGBT community is actively involved in attacking Black masculinity. Okay, how so? Do you feel your Black masculinity being attacked by the gay community, Bernard?
Well, no, I don't feel personally attacked by.
I would like to know exactly how is that. I think if anybody's attacking Black masculinity, to be brutally frank, it's Black women online. It's straight Black women online attacking Black masculinity, accusing Kevin Samuels of being gay, accusing other guys of being dusty, accusing other Black men of being, incompetent. See, the problem that I have with this line of argument is that we keep scapegoating the issues, which shows a disordered mind. That brings me back to my point about Dr. Watkins and Mr. Fountain. Both of these men have hung their authority predicated on their academic bona fides. if you have been through the academy, you are a trained thinker by definition. And yet neither of these gentlemen conduct themselves as trained thinkers. They have the patina of being a trained thinker, but they don't act like trained thinkers. Dr. Watkins's whole situation here, this whole dust up with single moms, reveals a disordered mind. He is deeply emotional about the fact that he himself was born of a young single baby mama and was essentially saved by his stepdad. And he cannot separate that from the objective facts on the ground bearing on out of wedlock births in Black American life. And the fact that you have an entire sector of the internet now that doesn't want it as a mate. He refuses to separate his wife, who was a married woman, had all of her children with one man within that marriage and then got divorced, who is a graduate of a Big Ten university in Indiana and a master's degree holder in another Big Ten and top 10 university in the University of Chicago, who runs marathons and who said himself that if she were the prototypical big booty Brenda Keisha, Sharkeisha type that had 3 babies by 3 baby daddies, he wouldn't have married her. He refuses to separate that fact about himself from what brothers in the Black Manosphere are saying. There's something wrong there with Dr. Watkins. His inner life is disordered with his life as an academic. That he either cannot or refuses to make distinctions between the two shows it is disordered. Similarly, Mr. Fountain's situation, which I have talked about publicly and he has not denied. He too came from a very distressed situation, a very problematic situation with his own mother. His father did the best he could to try to, do the best he can with his hard scrabble situation. He's now deceased. And the way that he conducts himself shows that it's a disordered mind. His emotional life bleeds over into his life as an academic in training. It's disordered. This is the reason why I can so easily dismantle his talking points with simple facts. For example, Mr. Fountain argues that there are those in the manosphere, and he uses Mr. Rollo Tomasi of the Rational Male fame as his case in point, about how 40-year-old men think that they can attract younger women. Okay. Let's look at the facts. Fact. According to Business Insider website, very prominent fiscal issues websites on par with The Economist and so on. According to the Business Insider magazine, the average American man reaches his financial peak in earnings in his lifetime at around 49, 50 years old. We know from studies in evolutionary psychology, shout out to David M. Buss, University of Texas at Austin, that the number one criteria that women look for in a man for a mate is resources, economic earning capacity. Number one. The more resources you have as a man, the more choice you have with regard to women. The less resources you have as a man, the less choice you have with regard to women. Younger women have shown an express preference for older men with money, ranging from everything from marrying May-December marriages all the way to straight out sugar babies and everything in between. Easily confirmed anywhere on the internet. That's number one. Number two. I was looking up some cars. You know, I was doing a little bit of window shopping, so to speak. And I stumbled upon this the other day. And it folds and it dovetails into what I'm about to say right now. Bernard, I don't know what kind of man you are in terms of cars. I love exotic sport cars. Always have.
I
As
like
a kid.
I like cars that start up and get me from point A to point B faster than walking, running, or riding a bike. I'm not a car person.
Yeah. But let me ask you a question. What do you think is the average age of the Chevrolet Corvette buyer?
Assuming it got to be somewhere between 40 and 50, probably around 50.
67
Holy shit! The average?
average.
Whoa! I would have thought about 50. I would have thought
67.
about 50.
67. The average age of a Ferrari owner. What do you think it is?
Well, based off what you said there, I'm assuming it got to be in the 60s as well.
51 worldwide.
Okay.
What do you think is the average age of a Porsche owner?
50-ish.
Exactly. 50. Right on the number. And by the way, 85% of Porsche owners, male. What do you think is the average age of the McLaren? You know what a McLaren is?
No, not really. Not a car person.
Those in the audience will understand what the name McLaren means. What do you think is the average age of the McLaren owner, fellas? Average age. Anybody? 40 to 45 years old. You want to know what the average age of a BMW owner is? Mid 40s. The average age of a Bugatti owner, 60. Average age of a Lexus owner, 57. What's my point? My point is that chick magnets, and these are all cars. Lamborghini is the same. Lambo is about the same. All of these, very rare for a young man to own. McLaren, among their demographics, about 10% of McLaren owners are under 30. 10%. Older men with resources get hotter chicks, period. Older men with resources get the best chicks, period. And if you doubt that, go to Florida, Palm Beach, go to LA, Southern California, go to Midtown Manhattan, see who all the hottest chicks are. Who are they with? Are they with young, Thundercats, or are they with, older guys? You tell me. Malibu.
Well, before I get to these super chats, the thing that I personally get confused about when I listen to them criticize the notion of an older guy being with a younger woman. Again, I have no dog in the fight, no personal dog in the fight. Me and my woman are pretty much the same age. But I get confused at their confusion or their pushback. I get confused about their pushback because if we're talking about a man making more money as he, gets into his 40s, and we're talking about a man going into his early 40s, a woman, into her mid or late 20s. If he's in people who we associate with simping, I'm just trying to figure out, how do they have a problem with a man being with a woman that he's clearly in position to protect and provide a comfortable, safe life for her and her children? Like, do you want better for women and children? So if a man is coming, because there's the sugar daddy, flashy car aspect of it. But especially if we're talking about what Kevin Samuels is talking about, he's talking about marriage. He's talking about successful men with money marrying women. If you really follow it all the way home,
I don't see the disconnect.
You don't see their why? What is it that you don't see?
I'm not seeing what I just said and you just said being that far apart.
Oh no, it's not. It's not. I'm saying I don't get them. I don't get the people who criticize the notion of an older man being with a younger woman. What's wrong?
Oh, because it's an emotional issue. See, Mr. Fountain has severe familial issues because he had a very difficult upbringing. Very difficult. I've written about it. And he doesn't want to deal with that. There's something about the black man, there's something about the manosphere in general, the black manosphere in particular, that really hits him at his emotional core that he's not willing to deal with. So what he tries to do, and there's a psychological term, displacement. They tries to displace those feelings onto an objective object, or in this case, using the tools of academia to kind of work through those feelings. And in the case of Dr. Watkins, he cannot be objective because he has all of these feelings about his mother, who was a baby mama at a very early age, and he was essentially rescued by his stepdad. But see, the problem is, in both cases, Black American culture does not allow Black men to work through emotional issues, especially publicly.
We'll get into that. Let me get to these super chats. I want to get into that because that's something that you said earlier that I wanted to stop you on. You're saying that the problem with Boyce Watkins or Exposed to Manosphere, that they're not working through their emotional issues. I want you to elaborate on that one. But shout out to Rod God podcast. At the time that he said this, I don't know where the likes was at. The likes are almost at 50%. We could definitely get those up. We're approaching 600 views. Let's try to get those likes up to about 300. If y'all can go ahead and hit that like button right now. If you're in the building and you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and take the time to hit it right now. Shout out to Evie now in the building, says great discussion. Get them, gentlemen. Good to have you back on the air, Obsidian. Shout out to Evie now. Appreciate super chats, perhaps.
Oh, thank you.
Have gotten away from me, but shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson, the father of our 2.0 generation Obsidian Media Network. He's just doing a
I owe O'Shea a huge debt of gratitude, and he's given me a lot of latitude. While I try to work everything out with the first book, because I usually try to write a weekly column, and it's just been too much. He's been really a godsend, and played a big role in the success of the book and the books to come. So thank you so much, O'Shea. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for everything.
All right.
For me and the entire Black Manosphere. Thank you.
All right, a couple more super chats. Some they got away from me. Corrine Henry responded back. We kind of moved on from this, but Corrine Henry did respond back. She says, referring to the woman that you mentioned. What was her name? Something Wise.
Oh, you mean Barry Weiss?
Barry Weiss. Okay, Barry Weiss. She says it's a part of her ideology, referring to her being part of the LGBTQ community. She says it's a part of her ideology. Can't leave that part out, especially since you mentioned she is a liberal and a Zionist. You left that part out, and I'm informed the audience, not an attack on her. I didn't take it as an attack on her. I just looked at it as something that people do a lot. If this person, the point that Obsidian was making, it didn't have nothing to do with her sexuality, or rather not she's LGBTQ RS. I have a problem with them to the degree that they make overreaches in their agenda. That is the point that's the extent that I have a problem with them. But if the conversation, but hold on real quick, if the conversation and the subject is about a particular thing, like whatever, I don't know what her and Jordan Peterson was talking about. But
isn't it interesting that
hold on real quick, I just want to make a simple point that if the subject is about a particular thing, and that's what they were talking about, and Obsidian made a point about what it was that they were talking about, we sound silly when we just turn into Riley from the Boondocks, like, man, she gay. It's like that's where it gets stupid. But if they were talking about the LGBTQRS agenda and she was talking about the overreaches in that, then yeah, I got a problem with it. That was the only point that I was making there.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting that the lovely lady didn't say, let me go over there and see what he was talking about? I mean, how long would it have taken her to just quickly, just on her phone or on her computer or tablet or whatever? Let me bounce over to Dr. Jordan Peterson, see what he's talking about, and then come back. See, my point is that I started out with Dr. Watkins and Aaron Fountain, and I used them to make a larger point. See, Black American culture does not value sober and judicious, dispassionate discourse based on facts. We don't value that. That's not a cultural value that we uphold.
Were they talking about relationships, Obsidian?
No.
Okay, so then that
the whole point was the way they had the discourse. It was calm, it was civil, it was dispassionate, it was sober and judicious, it was thoughtful, even though they were talking about very contentious topics. But when you compare it to Aaron Fountain and Dr. Boyce Watkins, it's cuss words, it's schoolyard taunts, it's roasting and toasting and capping. It's no critical evidence presented. That's my point. Black American culture, even at the level of a Dr. Boyce Watkins and a future Dr. Aaron Fountain, this is the way Black people talk to each other. That's a problem. This is the reason why there is no Dr. Jordan Peterson in Black America. This is the reason why we don't have somebody of his stature saying, what kind of men do you want, ladies?
Yeah. But what kind of men do you want? That wasn't in the discussion with the with that particular chick. They weren't talking about relationships and there.
No, but he did talk about it with another white woman.
Yeah, no, but I know the point that I'm making is that somebody is saying that that a gay woman, the Thai City is saying a gay woman's opinion on straight relationships is irrelevant. They weren't talking about straight relationships.
Wait, hold on. Why isn't Thai City going over and actually looking at the interview? Because there was no discussion about gay anything there.
Yeah,
See, this is my point. Why are we so quick to respond instead of pumping the brakes, looking it over, and being more introspective? Why couldn't Thai City do that?
Genuine Trucker Tony in the building with the $10 super chat. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. There was somebody else in here that I missed. The Mac the Trucker. I know you sent a cash app as you always do. Darth Slothy is in the building, says, congrats, old man. Just another step in the come up. Shout out to Darth Slothy. Shout out to everybody who's supporting the stream. I just recently said, let's get the likes up to 300. Y'all bumped them up from 245 to 280. I do appreciate that. Let's keep it coming with the likes. Appreciate all the support of this good content. Appreciate everybody in the building. Yeah, so moving forward from all of that, yeah, I didn't could care less with that woman for the very subtle point that you just used her as a reference on. Had nothing to do with
but I'm glad
sexual relationships, had nothing to do with relationships, had nothing to do with her sexuality, had nothing to do with nothing. It had nothing to do with nothing.
But I'm glad you said that. We don't do subtlety.
That was a different Thai City. That was a different relationship.
We don't do subtlety.
Hold on, wait, real quick. Obsidian, right, real quick. Look at this. He said, Obsidian, you said they were talking about outcomes of raising boys to be the men women want. That was a different kind. That was Kathy Newman. That was a different conversation.
Exactly. And why is he shouting? Why is he shouting? Ty, why are you shouting? See what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
So now we have poor listening skills. We have poor reasoning skills. We don't do subtlety. We don't do nuance. No wonder Black American society is a basket case from the elite on down. Again, I said Dr. Boyce Watkins, the future Dr. Aaron Fountain. And this is how they conduct discourse? That's the best of us. This is it. And this is the problem that I'm having with Manosphere critics. I said in my I wrote something on my community tab where I was responding to Mr. Fountain. I said, my position, you've heard me say this, Bernard, you can attest to this. My position has always been that the Manosphere needs honest critics. It needs it. And the reason why is because human beings have inborn biases. All of us do. All of us. And we need a mechanism to help us see ourselves in a more objective light. That was the whole point of the Enlightenment. That was the whole point of the scientific method. Because we can be biased, because we can be subjective, because we can be emotional and emotive, that we needed tools to be able to look at ourselves in a more objective light. The Black Manosphere is not immune to that. We desperately need honest critics. And the problem is, what this whole past year with regard to Kevin Samuels and to a large degree Aaron Fountain, what it has revealed is that we don't have honest critics. People who argue in good faith. People who adhere to the ideals of the Enlightenment. We don't. And that's the problem. Because I'll be the first to acknowledge, and Bernard, you and I have had public discussions. So this isn't something that, I'm not releasing privileged information. You and I have had public, heated discussions about the very real problems of the Black Manosphere. Now, we don't need to relitigate it. I'm making a point just to say that you and I acknowledge that, yeah, the Black Manosphere has work to do. Yeah. There are elements within it that are problematic. Sure. There's room for improvement, no doubt. Now, we could debate how we get there, how we do it, fine, but we agree. It's not perfect. It's not above reproach. It's not an article of faith. It's not infallible, the infallible word of God. We are stumbling toward a better enlightenment. And we could use some help. And honest critics help you. But when you have people like Dr. Boyce Watkins on one side and Aaron Fountain on the other, they're not helping the Manosphere. They're not helping to expand the discourse. They're bogging it down. When I listen to Dr. Jordan Peterson and others, their brothers in the chat room say, why you got to look to white folks? Because unfortunately, we don't have black folks of that caliber that are enlarging the discourse. Unfortunately. And I don't say that with any sense of glee. I'm very sad to say it. I'm embarrassed to say it. And Dr. Tia San Johnson would agree with me. Professor Ron Neal would agree with me. Dennis Sperling, Esquire, would agree with me. And again, that is the problem. If those who wish to have an argument or a critique of the Black Manosphere or the Manosphere, really what they're saying is the white Manosphere. If you want to have an argument, make an argument. Make an argument. Dr. Boyce Watkins did not make an argument against Kevin Samuels. Telling men that they're beta males because you don't want to take care of baby mamas is not an argument. Dr. Watkins. And someone of your stature ought to know better. Going to Mr. Fountain, accusing the Manosphere of having problems with feminism is not an argument. And at this point in your academic training, you should know that. How is any of this helpful to the discourse? How? You got a problem with the Black Manosphere? Make an argument. Bernard, are you there?
Yes, I was there. I had to turn my camera and mic off for a brief moment. Shout out to everybody who got the likes up. Shout out to Evie now posting right there to get the likes up. And shout out to that brother P-Dat with the $20 super chat. Appreciate it. That brother P-Dat says, you see, this is one of the reasons why I F with Mumia. Displacement, spot on. Spotting immature defense mechanisms a mile away is a gift. Simping and pedestalizing are just as much related to mental health as masculinity. Thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate that.
He's right. Thank you, brother P-Dat. Brother P-Dat is spot on. Idealizing in psychological terms, like simping and pedalizing in the way that brother P-Dat is using the term in his comment. In psychological circles, they will call it, idealizing, you idealizing somebody and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a very real thing. I mean, these are deep questions. These are deep issues. The Black Manosphere is by no means perfect. I am not perfect. None of us are. We are all flawed individuals. We are stumbling toward a better enlightenment, and we could use help. We could use help.
Obsidian, well, Black Sheep says, Obsidian, when will you have a real conversation with the critics and not just talk about it? You could rest assured, Obsidian sends out emails to all the critics to try to get them on his show.
Including Mr. Fountain and Dr. Watkins. I have reached out repeatedly to both with nothing to show for it. And that's something else that's a big problem in Black American society. Black Americans want to have the dais and not have a dialogue. They want a monologue. Feminista Jones wants a monologue. Sophia A. Nelson wants a monologue. Deborah Cooper wants a monologue. Dr. Boyce Watkins wants a monologue. Aaron Fountain wants a monologue. They don't want dialogue. They want monologue. And this is how Black things. This is another reason why I mentioned Dr. Peterson. They do dialogue. In Black America, you know what we do? Roasting, toasting, capping. And again, this is from the elite cultural and intellectual leaders of Black America on down. It's a top-down problem. It is a cultural problem that needs to be renounced, that needs to be rejected utterly. Kevin Samuels has been doing this thing day in and day out for over a year, and the best response you can give is kitten heels? Are you kidding me? That's the best you can do? That's it?
Adonis 1909, 11 in the building. He says, leaders lead and make decisions from logic and facts, not inner emotional turmoil. Listening and observing comes before a solution is given. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Appreciate the $5 super chat. We also got Wizard X back in here with another one. He says they are figures like at Obsidian. They are just ignored and deemed lames and coons, such as Glenn Lowry, Elder Whitlock, Schoon, and Whitlock. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that.
Say that again. Say that one more time, please.
Well, it kind of was a little choppy, some of the things he was saying there, but he says they are figures like at then Obsidian. I don't know what that part meant right there, but he said they are just ignored and deemed lames and coons, basically saying people who criticize, I guess, the norm of Black American discourse, people who push back against it, people who go against the grain, like the Glenn Lowrys, Larry Elders, Jason Whitlock, Schoon, and Whitlock.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, caller, because that's a very powerful. I was just talking about this the other day. I'm glad you mentioned it. He's 100% correct. Black Americans have rejected. They made a choice, but they also, in making the choice, they have rejected a certain mode of being. We have rejected all of the things that I've talked about. We've rejected a certain lifestyle of life. We rejected it. We have rejected the Glenn Lowrys. We have rejected the John McWhorters. We have. We don't consider them black enough, if we consider them black at all. We rejected the Thomas Sowells. We rejected the Shelby Steels. We rejected them. We have. We rejected the Larry Elders. We have. And what we put in its place is something else. Mm-hmm. And the question is now, what will that work? What will that reap us? And my argument is that, you know, all of the storm and stress that we're seeing right now on this front with the wokeism and all the rest of it is the chickens coming home to roost and black folks not liking the result.
Reverend RJ Rochill, CCSC MSA. You need a few more, you know, little need a few more titles in there. Need just a few more titles, and you'll be all the way there. Shout out to RJ. Shout out to good brother RJ in the building. Obsidian, as a founding father, I've recently emailed you concerning an issue that needs to be addressed. I plan on coming up and discussing it, as it could alter the way business is being handled under your current banner.
Yes, I did get your email. I just haven't had a chance to respond. Like I said, I've been kind of out of it for the past week. But yeah, I did receive your email, and when we open up the floor for question and answer, God help us, yes, I would be looking forward to dealing with that. Thank you.
Jason Johnson in the building says 8304 says, Obsidian, why doesn't he come at Jason Black? He's doing the same thing.
Oh, you mean the Black anonymity? He calls himself Jason Black, the Black Authority. I call him Jason Black, the Black anonymity, because nobody knows what he looks like. So y'all call him the Black anonymity.
Okay.
Do I need to say any more?
That's why you don't bother coming at him?
I mean, what is he produced?
What do you mean by what does he produce?
Okay. We don't even know what he looks like.
Okay, yeah, I get that part. But as far as what he produced, I mean, he does have a thriving YouTube channel and social media presence, and he's somehow skillfully done that without anybody knowing how he looks.
Right, which is based on what?
What? I don't understand.
Okay, you said that he has a thriving channel. I don't disagree. Based on what?
Talking about black stuff.
Okay.
I think the point that he's getting at is that Jason Black has done, to use the term that a lot of people use, I think Jason Black to some degree has done some of the Niggerlander thing, where he basically criticizes everybody in a way to try to create the atmosphere that I'm the source, I'm the one who you get the real truth from. That was almost a good impression of him, but he tries, he does try to do that. So, you know, people in the Manosphere, he's tried to dismiss the Manosphere, basically saying they're looking to their white daddies, as if the Manosphere is just being wagged by the white manosphere is a dog, and then we're just to tell that they're just wagging around as if we go to them to get our views and how we think and everything. So he does try to throw that out there, and he tends to be a critic of any and everybody else. But so he has taken his shots at the manosphere. I don't listen to him that much. I normally, I've heard a little bit of what he's done when he's tried to take shots at the manosphere. I think BGS did BGS responded to it so thoroughly that it doesn't even need another response. BGS thoroughly picked apart what is wrong with what he's saying about the manosphere. So there's that.
Well, I guess my take on it would be what House Lannister says. Lions don't care about the opinions of sheep.
All right. Houdini Unchained says, what do you think of the ubiquitous sanctimonious mindset that exists among some Black women? Society has gassed them up so much with praise. Black women saved America.
I never heard about that. I never heard the argument that Black women have saved America. I never heard that argument.
I think by getting Trump out of office, they credit Black women for that.
It'll be back. He has another term. So I guess then that would mean that they would have lost America when he wins again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sickler said the business channel is fire. I do agree. He is great at what he does. I do want to make that very clear. He's absolutely great at what he does. I disagree with him on his analysis of the Black manosphere. I think it was a very contrived argument with motive and agenda behind it. But that aside, Jason Black does amazing work. He does. I mean, his channel. He's amazing, and he's one of the few people that just off voice and presence alone on that microphone. You don't have to see him. You don't have to know what he look like, because he does a damn good job at what he does. So I do want to make that very clear before since we briefly touched on him, I do want to just say that he is definitely good at what he's doing. I just disagree with him on the points that he made about the manosphere, but you could probably find it on YouTube and see BGS's response to it if you haven't seen BGS response, because that was pretty much all the response needed.
Yeah, there was a brother in the chat room says that so the old man is a lion. That's a question. He says, so the old man is a lion? Hear me roar. Next question.
I didn't know we transitioned into the Q&A portion. Well, I mean, it's Q&A all the way through. It's Q&A all the way through, those that got questions. But as far as Manosphere critics, did you have anything else? I put Aaron G. Fountain's logo in the title largely in part because I know you recently, did a little bit of writing on him. But I don't know if it was...
Now who's that again? Because somebody else made it say something that in the chat room I wanted to address. So say that again, please.
No, I didn't know if you had anything else as far as Manosphere critics, anybody else or anything else that you wanted to specifically touch on, because I was just pointing out
there's really nobody that has been a legitimate critic. Like, for example, there's a brother in the chat room right now, one of your mods, Bitcoin, says ARC might be the only person I've seen beat Obsidian in a debate. Well, we never had a debate. ARC doesn't debate. ARC, screams and shouts and yells and thinks that's supposed to be accomplishing something. That's not a debate.
All right, we're gonna move on from that one. Shout out to ARC. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on from that one.
And at this point, there's really nothing to debate about, because I only debate.
Now, come on.
All others I teach. So there's really nothing to debate with him about at this point.
I can agree that the two of you don't have anything to debate about. I think y'all have debated about literally everything y'all could have possibly debated about. So I think at this point that there's literally nothing that the two of you should ever have to debate about. I think y'all can put all that to rest and just be good old buddies. Xavier, Professor X and and Magneto, just can just ride off into the sunset in old age, getting along. No more fighting. All right.
Another brother says ARC is a good critic of the Manosphere so far. I haven't seen that. Mo says old man is a hyena in sheepskin with no ideology to stand on. We'll see. Come on up and test it. Let's put it to the test. I mean, there are a whole lot of brave brothers in the chat room. Not so many brave
brothers.
That
ARC is a good critic of the Manosphere. I'd say that he's a part of it. I mean, he said a lot of things that, like the possible, shout out to Ramil. Ramil broke down how in the possibility of sex, a lot of things that ARC, broke down in that book informs a lot of the discussions that we have, like the beta male revolution and the possibility of sex. So in that way, he put his stamp on the Manosphere. I wouldn't put him outside of it and say he's a critic of it. I would say he's more like one of us who has some disagreements here, just like I got some disagreements with this person may say over there or that person may say over there, but just an overall outside looking in critic. I never put him I never put him in that category, that he's somebody on the outside looking in. People on the like, we know the people who are not a part of this don't associate. They only associate with it to the degree that they want to criticize it and make expose videos about it. Those are the ones that we can look at as not a part of the Manosphere, but on the outside looking in, who are critics. I think that's pretty much the criteria to be a Manosphere critic. You can't be somebody who's necessarily in it, because if you're in it, then you're, it could be argued that you're somewhat, cleaning up the house, that you clean up your own house to some degree. So it is a difference there. Savant,
I just disagree with the idea that somehow he's a great. I mean, I would love to see the arguments. What arguments has he put forward? Can you recount some of them?
An argument that ARC has put forth.
Yeah, I mean, if the argument that he's a good critic of the Black Manosphere, okay. So what arguments has he put forward?
Well, I reject the premise that he's a good critic of the Manosphere, because I think that he's said a lot of things and laid the groundwork for a lot of discussions he said a lot of things that inform a lot of discussions in the Manosphere. So in that sense,
such as
what he laid out in the beta male revolution.
Okay. So
what he put out in the possibility of sex.
All right, lay out at least one.
The beta male revolution, everything that he explained in there is basically the foundation for the current dating market and situation that we have there. It was basically showing the cause and cure, the source of the 80-20 rule.
Dating market for who?
For men.
Okay. So we know in the Black American dating market, we know that most Black men want to be married. We know that. That's not an opinion.
Okay.
So how does that jibe with Alan's argument?
Well, in the beta male revolution, he basically said after the sexual revolution, free love movement, second wave of feminism, women got their freedom to do what they want when they want and fuck who they want and fuck whoever they don't. That has nothing to
do with what I just said, though. I said that Black men today, most Black men want to be married.
Right, and most black women want to be free and do what they want, and that was the source of it, and that's why we have a dating market that looks similar to the dating market that we have.
So does Alan say in his book that most Black men, does he confirm that fact? Does he address it at all? I'm trying to understand how it specifically informs the arguments obtaining in the Black Manosphere.
I just explained how, and then you just went to another category that most Black men do want to be married, or more Black men want relationships than would Black women want relationships. You pointing out that aspect of it, of the data that he didn't mention in his book, does not negate what I said his book has done to inform some of the discussions in this space.
Okay, such as, what is it? Okay, to tell me specifically what it informed.
I just did.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything specific.
I literally.
And the reason why I can't be specific is because his book wasn't specific to the Black community. His book was a general market book.
Yes, that is true.
Okay, so this is the Black Manosphere. I'm one of the founders of it. It's specifically designed to address Black American concerns specifically, which are unique empirically. We can look at empirical evidence and see that the Black American experience along these lines are indeed unique compared to everyone else. We can confirm that. It's not a matter of debate. So when I talk about critics of the Black Manosphere, I need specific arguments bearing on empirical grounds that addresses specific issues with regard to Black America.
ARC's books does not deal specifically with Black people, and if that's the point you're making, I give you a point on that one. I'll give you a point on that one. He doesn't specifically deal with Black people. His books are broad and for people of all races,
which I have no problem with. I have no problem with that. But we're talking about the Black Manosphere. See, I'm very precise with my words, and so is Alan. So, I have no problem with that. If he addresses whoever he wants to address, I have no problem with that. I'm talking about the Black Manosphere. What are the arguments on the part of critics? You said you don't consider Alan a critic. Okay, that's fair. What are the specific arguments of critics against the Black Manosphere? What are they? And how are they empirically informed? What is the empirical grounds that undergirds their argument with regard to the Black Manosphere in contra? What are they? Specifically. What are the specific empirical evidence? Not opinion, not thoughts, not what you think about it. Evidence. If you're not coming with evidence, I'm not interested. That's not an argument. That's an opinion. There's a difference. I want to know from critics, what are the empirical grounds that they make an argument against the Black Manosphere? Anything less is not an argument. It is an opinion.
So what do you want to ask me?
Nothing.
Then why you got my name in your mouth?
Because someone brought you up.
So I've seen you ignore comments before. You could have ignored the comment.
And I didn't.
So then obviously you got a lot to say about me. So what do you want to ask me?
Nothing.
You got a lot to say about me?
Nothing.
Then why you got my damn name in your mouth after you promoted my books for over 18 months? And now you try to act like my books are irrelevant when you spent a weekly basis promote my books.
I didn't say that.
You didn't say what?
I didn't say that your book was irrelevant.
Okay. Then what's the argument? What's the basic argument here?
I just got finished laying it out. Didn't you listen?
I only listen to parts. You said something about, now I agree with you on one of your arguments. I did hear one argument. You said my books do not directly or specifically address issues in the Black community. Yes, that is true. I've discussed that a number of times. And I tell the people in the chat room, the main reason why is because I work with single heterosexual men of all races as a dating coach. And the reality is, in my experience, 20 years experience as a dating coach, a lot of the challenges and issues for many single heterosexual men are far more similar than they've ever been different. There's a few nuanced differences here and there, but by and large, most white men's challenges and issues with women is the same as Asian men's challenges and issues with women, is the same as Hispanic men's challenges and issues, and the same as Black men's challenges and issues. I've rarely found anything profoundly unique about the challenges and issues for single heterosexual men of Black men versus non-Black men. And that's the main reason why I don't address specifically. Now, when I did my Blog Talk Radio show, Upfront and Straightforward, I had a number of episodes that did cover specific, I would say rough estimate, I'd say at least 20 to 25% of my episodes of my show, Upfront and Straightforward, which was on Blog Talk Radio for 9 years, did address specific issues related to black men versus black women. But by and large, again, when I address the challenging issues of single heterosexual men, there are far, far, far more similarities than there are different. Another thing, I don't like to address the problems with women by their race. So, for example, you're rarely, if ever, going to hear me say the problem with black women, because that's automatically invalidates your argument, because never do all black women fall under the same blanket stereotypes and criticisms. I address women by what their flaw is. So if their flaw is being manipulative, I address manipulative women. If their flaw is being materialistic, I address materialistic women. If their flaw is being romantically unfaithful, adulterous, I address romantically unfaithful and adulterous women, and so on and so on. But, you know, when guys just like, come on, that would be speaking of criticism against the Black Manosphere. If I have at bare minimum one criticism, is that you got too many brothers in the Black Manosphere that will issue these blanket statements about black women, and hardly any of them apply to my wife. I'm married to my wife, so when I hear people talking about black women do this, black women do that, black women act like this, I'm like, that ain't my motherfucking wife. She don't fall under hardly any of the shit I hear brothers saying about black women. So that right there, that's why I say it's bullshit. It's bullshit. So I address women by what is their specific flaw that needs to be addressed. And there's manipulative women of all races. There's duplicitous women of all races. There's materialistic women of all races. There's women who've given birth to out-of-wedlock children of all races. There's obese women of all races. There's loudmouth, argumentative, masculine acting women of all races. I've seen Asian women on video slapping the shit out of their men. But yet you have brothers say Asian women are docile and feminine. I've seen Chinese women beat the shit out of their boyfriends and husbands. Beat the shit out of them. And when some brothers want to say that Asian women never give their men any problems, bullshit. Bullshit. You give me any flaw among black women, I can apply it to a percentage of any non-black women on this fucking earth. I guarantee you I can. I guarantee you brothers who want to make that argument that I can. So y'all can miss me with that shit. You know, I was speaking of the Manosphere. People like to say I'm the founder of this, I'm the founder of this. I was around before 99% of you motherfuckers. If you wasn't talking about dating and relationships on blogs, discussion forums, message boards before 1999, you weren't here before me. Period. You weren't here before me. I've been on the internet since 1999, which is when I came out with my first ebook version of Mo 1 in May of 1999. I've been on the internet ever since. I'm considered one of the pioneers of the worldwide manosphere. So I've watched it evolve. I've watched it change, go through its changes. And it's gone through many. Some good, some not so good. I would never say the manosphere is all a good thing. I would never say it's all a bad thing. It has its strengths and weaknesses. That would be my most objective assessment of both the worldwide manosphere as well as the Black manosphere. Both have their strengths and weaknesses. For example, one of my most recent things I've been talking about on my channel that I have issues with, here would be falling in the category of weaknesses, is all these brothers on in the manosphere that are telling all men not to get married. Y'all need to shut the fuck up. Real talk. Marriage ain't for everybody. True. Marriage ain't for everybody, but it ain't detrimental for everybody either. There's some men who it would be beneficial for them to get married, and other men it wouldn't be. But for any man to say, oh, marriage is detrimental for all men, you need to just shut the fuck up. Period.
Is Bernard there? I don't know where he got to.
So anyway, that's my thoughts. And I heard your comment about me. Come on, old man. Come on now. Now you said I do nothing but shout when I talk.
What have you been doing for the past 10 minutes?
You, Mr. Stop. You talking about me?
5 years ago. I'm talking about what you just did a minute ago, not 5 years ago.
I wasn't shouting just a minute ago. I was talking loud. There's a difference.
That's the people in the chat room say different.
Well, there's a difference.
Okay.
I've had many conversations here on YouTube that didn't involve any degree of shouting. One person off the top of my head, Gab Talk Media, did 2 interviews with me. My voice was calm in both interviews from start to finish.
Okay.
From start to finish. Bernard even. He's done 3 one-on-one interviews with me. And there might have been a 2-minute stretch here, 3-minute stretch here where my volume went above normal. But generally, my voice was calm throughout all 3 one-on-one interviews with Bernard. So
Okay.
it depends on 2 things: who I'm talking to and what I'm talking about. That will determine typically the volume of my voice, is who I'm talking to and what we're talking about.
Because you don't have any control over either.
I have all control over me, brother.
Okay.
And you love the control I have because you've been a fan of my book since 2015.
Things have changed.
Yeah, I know. Things have changed. Things have flip-flopped. Things have evolved. Yep.
I'm always looking forward to what the future.
So am I. I got a son now, so I can't help but to.
See you at the top.
Agreed.
Well, thank you for sharing, Alan. This has been great. And if Bernard is there, we can move things along. Well, it's 21 minutes past the hour, and you're listening to Obsidian Radio, and that was interesting. And today's topic is Obsidian versus Manosphere critics. My argument has been that the Black Manosphere, and I'm focusing on that, the Black Manosphere needs honest critics. We do, and the problem is that we're having a hard time finding them. Bernard has stepped away from the microphone. I don't know if he had to take a bathroom break or what have you, but we're here. And the link is in the chat room for anyone else that wishes to come on up and have their say. But my position is that the Black Manosphere does need honest critics. And I think that it's a good thing when people raise, good faith arguments backed in evidence. That's a good thing. The Black Manosphere will have that. So, there is that. I will warn you, if you are in the chat room and talking crazy, chances are very strong that you'll disappear like Mr. Wisdom Speaks did. Behave yourself. Like your mama taught you, or didn't. Whatever the case may be. Back to Bernard Riley. Go ahead, Bernard.
All right. Thank you for everybody who super chatted as I went away, and as promised to Pablo in the back chat, I wanted to Obsidian summoned ARC. I was trying to call for a ceasefire before it even happened, but Obsidian summoned them, so I stepped back, let them talk it out, and now I'm back. But I did go take care of a few things while they were going at it. I could hear everything that they were saying. Only thing I would add to the conversation when it comes to comparing women of different races or different cultures, it's never all, it's always percentages. And if one group does particular said action noticeably more than another group, I think it's okay to generalize, but some people do overreach when they do try to say Asian women don't do this particular action. I think they need to, I don't want to say just do more like me, but choose their words wisely and say they're less likely to engage in this action, or they engage in this particular action at a lower percentage rate. And we actually have some data that supports this lower percentage rate that they engage in said action. That way the manosphere won't sound stupid and open the door for people to if you make a bad argument, you open the door for an easy criticism. So that's one thing that I always say: be precise with your arguments. That's one thing I always say. A lot of people.
I agree. That's the reason why I had nothing to say with when Mr. Curry said what he said. I mean, he's talking about his opinions. But how do you debate opinions?
Well, no, he responded based off the way that some people make their arguments. I would say he responded correctly to the bad arguments or poorly worded arguments that some people make.
On the part of who? Exactly. See, all the main movers and shakers of the Black Manosphere that I am aware of and know personally and work with, starting with you, Mediocre Tutorials, O'Shea Duke Jackson, Kevin Samuels. None of you guys make blanket statements. All of you guys are very pinpoint precise with your words and statements and arguments. You don't say all women do anything or all Black women do anything. None of you do. So who is he talking about? That's the reason why I ain't saying anything, is like I don't know who he's talking about. And I certainly haven't.
Well, I mean, he's talking to just the polarity of voices in and around the manosphere. That's what I gathered that he was addressing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I do encourage brothers to be more precise and thoughtful in how you word whatever it is you have to say. I'm not saying walk on eggshells and don't say what you believe to be the truth, but make sure you say it precisely and accurately if you're going to say it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, clearly they're not, adhering to your admonition and our example over these many years. Clearly that's not. So all the more reason why should I address people that clearly don't, jibe with who I am? Why was it my charge to address that instead of what I actually said that bears on the topic at hand?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Pablo, you are trying to get in here. You have the floor. You have the mic. Well, hold on. Before I do that, shout out to Oheen Imora. Whenever he come through here, y'all can drop his link. Y'all make sure you're checking him out. He's giving them good financial information. Not a financial advisor. We got to make sure we're saying that nowadays. All the people on YouTube giving financial advice. Not a financial advisor, but he's definitely giving some good information over there. He's it's a Crypto Gang podcast, but they transition into talking about stocks, because how could you not be talking about all that's going on with AMC? So he's definitely been talking a lot about AMC and a lot of other things lately. So you want to hop over there. You want to get that information. I took some profits on AMC. I already told y'all that, but I still got some money left in there. And yes, I'm watching it right now. It's the little money I got left in there is doing a little better now. It did drop down. Now it's starting to shoot back up. So I am keeping an eye on that while we're on the air. So I encourage brothers to just get the information, arm yourself with as much information as possible. But go ahead and drop your link, Crypto Gang Podcast, aka Oheen Immoral, or somebody else could drop his link. I want as many brothers getting as much financial information as they possibly can. That is very, very important. So shout out to Oheen Immoral once again. Pablo, you got the floor. You got the mic. I see a lot of people waiting in the wing. I will bring y'all up. Hold on real quick. I will bring y'all up gradually. I want to wild shoot them up panel. So we're gonna do it one at a time. We're gonna do it one at a time.
Yeah, I would like to respond quickly to Brother Oheen, because he does make a fair point.
I didn't even read what he said.
and he does make a fair point insofar as one of the critiques of the Black Manosphere, and Aaron Fountain kind of sort of made this critique as well. It was a bit different. His problem, Fountain's, was that the men always focus on sex, as opposed to why can't they focus on other things? Okay. That dovetails with Oheen's argument that he's making now. The obsession with women. That's a very fair point. Life is about relationships. That's what life is about. When you're in your final moment, you're not going to be thinking about your investment portfolio. When I say that the single biggest problem facing Black America ain't racism, it's the fact that Black men and Black women can't get along. That's not an idle statement. It is foundational. It goes to the heart of everything in Black America, including money making, which is a social activity. So if you don't have Black love, you ain't got Black shit. You don't have Black anything. If you don't have black men and black women getting along on a fundamental level, you're not going to have black anything. You're not going to have black business. You're not going to have black civics. You're not going to have black education. You're not going to have black anything. And I think it's perfectly fitting that the most energized and engaged sectors of the black manosphere are indeed wrapped up in this question of black men and black women not getting along. I've been asking my pro-black brothers and sisters this simple question for years. If we accept your premise that racism, white supremacy, structural racism it remains the single biggest thorn in the side of the black American body politic, how do you propose to meaningfully contend with that without strong black families, which starts with strong black couples? How do you propose to do it? I never get a straight answer. I've been asking that question for years, haven't got a straight answer yet. So yes, the black manosphere is obsessed with women. That there's truth in that. And to go to Fountain's point, given the fact that the average man has something like somewhere between 8 and 10 times the amount of testosterone that the average woman has, and thinks about sex, I think it's like the average man thinks about sex like several times an hour. I can't remember the exact number, but several times an hour. It only makes sense that men are motivated by sex. That's not a bad thing. That's actually very human. It would be inhuman if men were not motivated by sex. That would be patently inhuman. It might be possible that Mr. Fountain's low testosterone level or low energy level gives him the misleading perception that that's the correct way to deal with things. What it suggests to me is that he's fundamentally out of step with where most men are. So yes, black men are rightly concerned with black women, rightly, because the single biggest issue facing us is the fact that black men and black women don't get along. And if you ain't got black love, you don't have black Wall Street. It's that simple. History bears it out.
I put it just a little more simpler than that before we pass it to Pablo. For me, it's as simple as this. This space, as I understand it, was built on dealing with the social dynamics between, or the social contract, or the social dynamics between men and women, or in the case of the Black Manosphere, the social dynamics or social contract between black men and black women. So, in large part, this space, it is about women. And so to come to space, an algorithm of channels cobbled together that's essentially about women, and say, oh, they're obsessed with women. It's like going to a space where they talk about cars and saying, oh, they're obsessed with cars. Like, yeah, they built platforms talking about cars. They're going to talk about cars. That's why I just think it's just a dumb argument for him to say, why so obsessed with women? Like, if you like that, it's a ridiculous argument to me. But as we can see, we do talk about other things as well. But yeah, it's gonna circle back to women. It's gonna circle back to women. But anyway, Pablo got the floor, got the mic. Go ahead.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey,
So,
Pablo.
what's going on, Obsidian? Congratulations on your newfound, well, it's not newfound success. I knew you were going to be successful on the day that you said you were going to write this book. I remember listening to you on that day. And to see it come full fruition in the way it did is a testament to your fortitude, my brother. But let me say
Thank
this.
you.
What you're running into, and what a lot of the men in the manosphere are running into, is the inherent cultural anti-intellectualism culture in Black America. Let me give you an example. ARC just got up here, and I apologize to all of the formerly educated brothers who have a sheepskin on the wall like myself. with a BA and a master's degree. I didn't go to IU. I went to an HBCU. But for ARC to get up here and say, well, my wife doesn't do this, and my wife isn't overweight, is an anti-intellectual argument. When we have facts, data, statistics, research, studies that show that there are disparities and differences between social, racial, and ethnic groups in their behaviors, in the physical manifestations, in the way they socialize and interact with each other, in the way that they choose mates. All of this has been studied and proven to be very different. I'm sorry, ARC, you're wrong. And to sit up here as a man with a college education and say that is beyond ridiculous. You make us look like bumbling idiots when you get up here and you say that. And you're supposed to be one of the educated among us, a member of one of the most prestigious fraternities of black men in this country, Kappa Alpha Psi. One of the men one of my fellow citizens of the state of Virginia, Arthur Ashe, a UCLA graduate. You make us look bad, brother, when you get up here and you do that. We are not the same. Let me tell you what happened to me. So I've been in Medellin for 5 days. I just got back. And while there, I was at a restaurant owned by a black American brother. It's called Sweet Georgia Cafe. We're hanging out. A lot of American expats hang out in this particular restaurant. It's a sports bar. The brother that owns it employs some, local people that work there. So the Colombian lady that was working there, she asked me, did I want to hear any particular kind of music? She was playing Latin music. I said, no, this is great. This is, I'm out of the country. I'm experiencing a different culture. I'm enjoying what I'm listening to. Salsa is great with me. Few moments later, another brother comes in. I can tell, he's of a different social strata than myself. Okay. Let's say, Standard Pookie and Ray Ray. Comes in, she asks him, well, would you like to hear something different? Hey, yeah, and he turns on the trap music. A lot of us are prisoners of our own experiences. We cannot continue to be prisoners of our own experiences. You have to understand that there's a world outside of your own reality. And I'm sorry, they're not listening to trap music in Medellin. They might listen to reggaeton, salsa. Okay? So, ARC, I love you, brother, but you dead wrong on this. And you're trying to sell this to everyone else. This is what Obsidian is running into. And anti-intellectualism also comes in people with degrees. It's just it means lazy thought. Lazy thought processes. They only prisoners of their own realities. And you can't be a learned person practicing life like that. And that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Pablo. Appreciate you coming on through. Appreciate that. We about to swing it to Game Changer. Game Changer wanted that link. We're doing rotating in and out one at a time. Leo Anthony in the building says, I disagree with Pablo. There are some, not all brothers who say all black women. There are some to say all, and I was addressing that. Black women are messed up and they all like that and to date out and get a non-black woman or non-ADOS. Yes, there are some that say all. Yeah, that much is true. All right, Game Changer, you got the flow, you got the mic.
Hold on a second, Bernard. See, again, I have to ask the question: who is saying this? Who?
Who says
We
all?
know- yeah, who? We know who ain't saying it. It's not me. It's not you. It's not mediocre. It's not O'Shea. It's not Kevin. Who is saying it? Who? See, this is the problem that the interlocutors have. They never say so and so said this. Who is saying
Right.
it?
I can name a name, but
Okay.
oh, you want me to name a name of somebody who says all? Oh, okay, Ty City is somebody who said all.
And Ty City is considered a top tier Manosphere mover and shaker, Black Manosphere.
I didn't say it was a top tier mover and shaker, but it was just somebody who says all.
So why
And
are
I
we?
don't think ARC limited what he was saying to top tier movers and shakers. He was just saying
And I'm
some
talking-
guys
and I'm-
in.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
So what I'm saying is, why are we giving equal weight to people on the top and people on the bottom? Why?
I didn't say.
I want the
Yeah.
interlocutors to go to the top of the tier and say so and so said this.
Well, I was touching on that in my opening monologue before you came up. I was saying that I was referring to Aaron G. Fountain. If he wants to be intellectually honest and be an honest critic, he would it would be best for him to pick a content creator and follow the steady stream of logic of that particular content creator and point out where he finds the problem in what this particular individual said. But instead, he will quote a prominent content creator, juxtapose that against something else, and then take what some nameless, faceless guy named Thunderfoot69 said in the chat, and take that and compare it with this, and then just say the Manosphere says, and then make some convoluted, it makes a real convoluted, contrived argument out of nothing.
Exactly, and that's indicative of the disordered thinking that Pablo was just talking about a second ago. That's his disorder. That's the reason why I used to, because there's something I had to learn about myself, and I'm learning things about myself all the time. I consider myself an eternal student. And I had to learn about myself that all things are not worth the trouble of arguing.
Real quick, addressing Ty City. No, when you talk about women, you say all. You say all women when you talk about women. When you do your exposed to new Manosphere streams, you do name names. Yeah. But when you but when you talk about women, you do say all.
Okay.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure that I was understood before that get clipped when he do his who gonna check on boo stream. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. The thing I learned about myself is that all things aren't worth the trouble of arguing, because just because somebody says something does not mean that it needs a response. There are people who say things, and often what they say is not informed by empirical evidence, but rather informed by their own personal experiences, which by definition is flawed because it's personal. As Pablo rightly pointed out, by definition, it's flawed. It's flawed because it's personal. And how do you argue a personal perspective by definition is flawed because it's personal? How do you argue that? You don't. That's the reason why I've learned, some degree of restraint. So when I encounter somebody that wants to, kind of holler and scream and speak about their personal experiences, you know what I do? I get quiet. And I just let them go on ahead. And when they get finished, I say, thank you for sharing, and move right along.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're about to pass it to Game Changer. We're about to let Game Changer go. And ARC is back is in the back. So go ahead, Game Changer, and I'm gonna go to ARC next. But Game Changer, you got the floor, you got the mic.
Okay, thanks a lot. So yeah, I completely agree with Obsidian and Pablo. And to a lesser extent, well, I just want to say something on what Leo was saying and on the last super chat, and that is what we're doing is we're defaulting some for ARC and we're defaulting all for the Manosphere. You see, when he said what he said in that comment, he was saying that ARC, it's okay when he says the Black Manosphere, that it's naturally assumed that he's talking about some members. You need only point out one member that said all, and then, what he says is true. However, if the Black Manosphere or someone like Obsidian says something, it's assumed that he's talking about all Black women. You know, we can't do that because what happens is we allow straw man arguments to exist as a result of that. That's definitely a straw man argument. And then when you're talking about something like the Black Manosphere, where anybody at any time can just sign up and say, hey, I'm Black Manosphere, as long as the algorithm picks you up and recognizes you as such, you know, we won't be responsible for the statements of that person. So a straw man is created. And a straw man is somebody who says 100% of Black women behave this way. 100% of Black women are fat, or 100% of Black women are have personality issues. Let's say that. A person makes that statement, you know, that is the straw man. No one is actually making that statement as except for maybe a select few who may or may not even be in the manosphere and who may be critics of the manosphere itself. However, the straw man was created, it's slayed, and it's proof by counterexample, one counterexample that, hey, this person doesn't exist. Listen, I mean, I could find a God's chosen or a Muslim person that eats pork. However, the statement that Muslim people don't eat pork or God's chosen people don't eat pork is still true. I can find a Amish person that uses a computer very well. You know, however, the statement that they generally stay away from technology is also true. I mean, we can't find these individual counterexamples or these minority reports, these exceptions that prove the rule, and then say that, oh, the entire statement is not true.
Right. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I was referencing the people who open the door for somebody to criticize in that way. There are some people that open the door for it. And yeah, somebody is dropping Game Changers channel. I don't know if you haven't got your channel that got knocked down. You haven't got that one back yet, correct?
No, I don't know if that one's ever going to come back. So subscribe to the new one.
Yeah, so somebody just dropped his backup channel, which is his main channel now in the chat. And one thing I always forget, because I always be just assuming everybody is subscribed to Obsidian. Moderators, be dropping Obsidian's link in the chat as well. So be dropping Obsidian's link in the chat going forward. Spam it out for the rest of the show. But all right, and shout out to Melody in the building. Sweet Melody Speaks says, salute Bernard Obsidian, game changer. Peace to the chat. Thank you for the super chat. Sweet Melody Speaks. Game changer, you had anything else you wanted to drop on us?
No, that was pretty much it. I just got in, so yeah.
All right. Well, actually, stick around. I said I was gonna do one at a time, but no, we about to do it. Stick around, game changer.
Okay.
Go ahead, stick around. ARC back in the building. First off, welcome back to the show. Formally welcome you back. You hadn't been up here in a while, so it's definitely good to be speaking with you. Go ahead, ARC, you got it.
Yeah, I've been staying away from a lot of live streams starting with mid-February. I've jumped on a couple. I jumped on Ramil's once. Your lighthearted arch nemesis, Sister George. I jumped on her. But of course I had to jump back on, man. Now here this is funny. Now of course I mentioned you have done 3 one-on-one interviews with me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I'm talking the way I'm talking right now, calm and composed, what do most of your chat rooms say? It's only in a lighthearted manner. They'll say, "Oh man, this is disappointing. I want to see panel ARC.
Yeah.
I don't want to see regular audiobook ARC." But then when I demonstrate panel ARC, they're like, "Oh, see, here you go again, talking all loud and stuff, talking out loud." But anyway, to address Pablo's suggestion that I'm an embarrassment. Is that what he said to men who have college degrees? Brother, please. I hope I misinterpreted your comment, but you would need to substantiate that in a major way. In a major way. You talking to a brother that's a Dean's List scholar. My academic transcript would contradict all your criticisms related to any jab at my intelligence, a person who got into the nation's top 5 graduate business school back in the day. So don't ever question my intellectual pedigree, brother. See, here's what a lot of you all, I don't want to generalize, so I'm going to just say some Some people on YouTube think if a brother uses a bunch of polysyllabic terminology and can memorize a book, that automatically means he's a high intellectual. If you know the true meaning of genius, the true meaning of genius is to take something that's very complicated to the average person and simplify it, which I get complimented on all the time. Why am I hearing feedback?
That might be my fault. I'll turn off my speaker and go to earbuds. Hold on. Yeah, I think that might be my fault. Let's see. Go ahead.
So Pablo, man, you know, I again, maybe I didn't hear you right, but it sounded like you were saying I'm some kind of embarrassed. I'll put it this way. I don't know any of my close friends, fraternity brothers, and social acquaintances who are college educated that would co-sign with you and share your sentiments. I'll just put it like that. Everybody has their opinions. I don't say nobody's not entitled to their opinions, but nobody in my real life has ever tried to suggest that I'm an embarrassment to college degree people. Oh, here he is. I see him on. So tell me what your criticism of me was again. So I got it.
Real quick. Hold on, real quick. Shout out to Red Lens, said great content, Bernard. Keep up the good work. And shout out to Red Sings the Blues, who says the main reason I don't join panels anymore. This is right here. Shout out to Red Sings the Blues. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate the support. Go ahead, Pablo. You got the floor. You got the mic.
So ARC, the gist of your argument was, well, my wife doesn't behave this way, and I hear all these men complaining about black women being this and that. Oh, and well, I hear black men complaining about black women being obese. Oh, but I see you fat white women. Okay, that is lazy intellectualism, my brother, when we know that there are studies and evidence that shows that our people are disproportionately affected in some specific areas that can be measured. 60-something% obesity rate. I'm sorry, white women don't have that.
But does that mean white women are not obese though?
See, there you go.
There I go. Exactly. Because see,
there you go.
See, Pablo, you're used to these YouTube arguments, and some people have criticized.
That's not a YouTube argument, sir. That's called.
I'll break it down to you, man. I worked in media and I worked in the entertainment industry, and one thing I know, man, is one difference between, say, mainstream media and YouTube type panel discussions, man, is they require that if you're going to talk about something like obesity, you can't just focus on black women. A mainstream host is going to demand that you bring up our other races of women also suffer from obesity, even if it's to a lesser degree than black women. You can't just
wait a minute.
Black women's obesity.
If you look at the CDC studies, you will see that there is a large gap, not a small one, a large one, 20+ percentage points or more.
But are there some good black women out here? Straightforward question. Are there some good black women out here? Yes or no?
Of course there are.
That's all I want to hear.
ARC.
That's all I want to hear.
But that doesn't mean, wait a minute, but that doesn't mean that we're at a significant deficit when we have that many women who are obese, sir.
Well, here's my thing, Pop. I'm not. Let me clarify. I'm not trying.
And so that IU degree, if you can't see that, then you're not using it.
No, I'm not trying to argue that there aren't statistics that need to be highlighted. I'm not arguing that there aren't a percentage of black women that don't warrant criticism. I'm not arguing that at all. So I want to make that clear. My thing is, I just don't feel like there's enough balanced conversation. Well, it started with the point that Obsidian made an argument to Bernard that Alan Roger Curry doesn't address issues specific to the black community. He talks about dating and relationships in general. And so that's what started my counterpoint was I said the reason why I do that is because I'm a dating coach who works with men of all races and ethnicities. I've literally clients of all races. And when among talking to my clients, I find that very few of their challenges and issues with women are significantly different. It ain't too many black men who my black clients are telling me
again. I find
that are different from my white clients.
I find when I do my
I'm talking about my career as a dating coach. I'm not on YouTube trying to be a pseudo sociologist. Matter of fact,
the world is not Alan Roger Curry.
If Bernard got a good memory, the first time he interviewed me, I think I want to say the first one-on-one, he asked me something to the fact that he said, ARC, sometimes you sound like you get irritated when you're on live streams or when people pose questions at you. Why do you think that is? And I said, the number one reason is because guys will repeatedly, specifically black men, will ask me questions that would be better suited for a credentialed sociologist. I am a dating coach. I ain't trying to offer my researched assessment on why the black community has this ill and that ill. I'm not saying that discussion is not important. I'm not at all saying that, but I'm saying that's not my wheelhouse. My wheelhouse is helping men improve their verbal communication skills with members of the opposite sex.
And that's fine, but what you're doing, but ARC, just a second. What you're trying to do is you're trying to take your personal experience as a dating coach and dealing with individual men to a group of men who are taking a broad view from 50,000 feet and looking at the culture as a whole. And you keep bringing your personal interactions
and
with individual clients into this.
Why do I do that?
And it doesn't belong. It doesn't belong.
Okay, stop right there.
Stop right there. I'm upset.
Hold on. You're getting on this. Hold on.
You're gonna always be upset, and you're gonna always be upset, and you're gonna always be jumping in here like the candy man.
No. See, I'm glad you brought this up because my wife has been a witness and other people who follow me have been a witness. You want to know why the reason? Because people who say that type of comment, well, if ARC doesn't like what's discussed, well, why is he, in the chat room of this live stream or on the panel of this live stream?
That grand about your name,
the main reason why is because motherfuckers are always mentioning my goddamn name.
And they probably shouldn't.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you for saying that. Because my wife knows 90% of the reason why you want to know 90% of the reason why I listen to various just miscellaneous live streams, podcasts, even if it don't have anything directly to do, say, with the contents of my book. I tell my wife all the time, she'll say, why are you listening to that person's live stream? I'll say, because there's a greater than 50% chance either one or two things going to happen. Either somebody going to bring my name up, which happened today, and or somebody's going to repeat talking points and not give me credit for them. That's the two main reasons why I listen to most people's live stream, because I know my name is going to inevitably be brought up, and or somebody's going to repeat talking points that I originated or popularized without giving me credit.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for those two things, I guarantee you wouldn't see me around hardly any of these fucking live streams. Real talk. You wouldn't, if you took those two factors away, you wouldn't see me around hardly any of these motherfucking live streams. And I say that without disrespect to Bernard, because I like Bernard. One thing I like about Bernard, he's a very 98, 99% of the time, he's very objective. Like he likes to say, he likes to address the issues rather than the personalities. And that's the thing about him that I really like compared to some other people in the Black Manosphere. And there's a few other people in the Black Manosphere I think will fall in that category as well. So I don't want to, criticize everybody and say their live streams aren't worth listening to or whatever. But to Pablo's point about, well, Alan, if you disagree with this and you don't like this, why do you drop in all the time? Because I know my name is going to be mentioned. A lot of times it's mentioned in a positive way. Like a lot of times when Bernard mentions me, it's usually in a positive, flattering way. He rarely, if ever, will mention me in a critical way. But a lot of other people, I'll be just randomly listening to live stream. Somebody says, yeah, man, that motherfucker Alan Roger Curry, man, he did this, and he said this, and he believed in this.
Well, I ain't gonna lie, it is entertaining when you drop in here. But
hold on, I want to say, Pablo, you did touch on something good where you talk about people talking about Black issues or Black women from a larger scale, zoomed out perspective than ARC will give his more, personal, zoomed in perspective on it. And I understand why, as a dating coach, ARC does that, because the dating coach, he if the person is looking at women from a zoomed out perspective, no, ARC's job is to pull that person in and get him to focus on himself and look at what's in front of him. So it's almost like two separate conversations be happening sometimes. And that's
the micro versus the macro.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, you
But matter of fact, Pablo, I don't know how long you've been familiar with me, but if you remember, one of the first times I got into it with another popular black male related to what you just said was BGS Itmore. We had always had, you know, a pretty high level of mutual respect, but I did a video either in late 2017 or early 2018 called "We're Never Going Back." Women will never go back to the way they were before the 1960s. And I expressed a lot of commentary related to that. I felt like one of the problems among certain men in society is that they basically want to see all women go back to a traditional mindset and traditional state of behavior. And I basically said in this video that that's never going to happen. And BGS did a response video, and he said, I'm paraphrasing the word, but essentially he said, there's a lot of things I like about Alan Roger Curry. I think all his books are really good, but if I have one criticism of him, he concentrates too much on micro issues, whereas I think he needs to concentrate more on macro issues.
That ain't your job.
A dating coach technically shouldn't do that if he's coaching an individual. You shouldn't focus on the macro.
Yeah, and that's what my response to his response was. I was basically like, BGS, man, I got a lot of respect for you, but I said, that's not my job, man. I said, I'm a dating coach, man. I'm not no sociologist, man. That's the difference between psychology and sociology. I mean, don't get me wrong, I touch on it from time to time, like here and there. For example, I say of my books, if there's at least one book that I at least kind of sort of tackle some issues from a macro level, would be the Beta Male Revolution. That would probably be my most macro-oriented book of all my books. But all the rest of my books deal with issues between men and women on a micro level, on a one-to-one level. And speaking of on a one-to-one level, here's my thing. Here's my general thing. This has been my thing for literally since I've been a dating coach. If you could, in an overly simplistic manner, divide all of women's undesirable behavior into two categories. Undesirable behavior that we as men have very little, if any, ability to influence some kind of change or improvement in those women's behavior, and then undesirable behavior that we do, that we can affect women's behavior by modifying our own behavior. 95% of my emphasis is on the latter. And that's when I used to do videos. This was before Bernard came on the scene. But I used to get a lot of pushback because back in 2017, 2018, I used to do a lot of videos saying that a lot of brothers was whining and complaining. And people say, hey, you know, what do you mean? We can't be discussing the flaws and weaknesses of women's behavior? What is there something against that? And I'll basically be like, hey, number one, I always said, if you're talking about a woman you've dealt with personally, like a ex-wife, a former fiance, ex-girlfriend, ex-casual sex lover, I don't have no problem with you talking about what was wrong with her.
Well, ARC, if I may, real quick, I view your job as you help men overcome the cultural and social and environmental picadillos, right?
In many ways, yes. Yeah.
Right. Obsidian helps people to see the cultural, social, and environmental picadillos.
Yeah, Obsidian does his thing. Now, obviously, there was a period where me and Obsidian used to be real cool, which was mainly between roughly November 2015 and May of 2017. And one of the things I liked about Obsidian during that period, Obsidian used to be really good at counteracting invalid narratives and talking points that black women would express. For example, I don't know, there's way more black women. I mean, there's way more black men in prison than there is in college. And Obsidian would do a podcast highlighting the statistics of the percentage of black men that were in prison, percentage of black men that were in college. That type of thing I liked. I had no problem with. I have no problem with any other brother in the Manosphere who does that type of thing. But I just, from the time I wrote my first edition of Mode 1, it's in my latter chapter of my book. I tell men in my book, never concern yourself with any aspect of women's behavior that you don't directly have the ability to influence a change or improvement in their behavior. It's not worth it. Because number one, like, I'll use one example. I've heard at times brothers talking about black women being disrespectful to them. Here's my simple response. If a woman has been exhibiting disrespectful behavior towards you, I always say 3 or more times, that ain't her fault. That's your fault.
Yep.
That's your fault. Because you allowing the shit. You're allowing the shit. Now, one time, yeah, you can point the finger at her because you didn't know. Even 2 times, I always say you might have been giving her a benefit of the doubt and giving her a second chance. 3 or more times, that's your motherfucking fault. You don't have no right to be criticizing no sister for being disrespectful towards you if she's been disrespectful towards you 3 or more times. And that's why I said on a lot of my videos, I say, oh man, I don't deal with disrespectful women. And some people say, oh, so you're saying you've never ever. It's not that I'm saying there's no disrespectful women out there for me to interact with. What I'm saying is once a woman shows me that she is a disrespectful type, I cut her off immediately. I don't care how, if she's drop dead fucking gorgeous, the sexiest woman on earth, I cut her off fucking immediately. I'm not going to allow any woman to exhibit behavior towards me that's undesirable or disrespectful. Now, there's some cases you have to deal with, like at a worker, if you got a 9-to-5 job and say you got a coworker that's a bitch. I understand that.
That brings up an interesting point, though, because there was a recent conversation regarding Kevin Samuels on this point about what do black women owe the black community? What do they owe it? I mean, do they owe the black men of the black community civility? I mean, there are black women, there are actual black feminists who have argued that they don't owe black men anything, not even a smile, but they want those same black men to give them non-sexual male companionship services, protection, for example. See, in the minds of black women, black men owe all black women something. But in the minds of black women, no black woman owes any black man anything. How are we supposed to get along with that kind of mindset?
And I just want to hold on real quick. And I just want to point out that we just transitioned from micro to macro. So that's where a lot.
And we also transition from general to specific. Yeah, I'm talking about a black manosphere. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about black men and black women in the 21st century in a specific context. Kevin Samuels only a month ago asked black women, what do you owe the black community? What do you owe it?
Yeah. And I'm with it. And I'm with the type of conversations that you have and the type that Kevin Samuels have. So I understand. I like analyzing the macro from that zoomed out perspective, looking at it from a sociological perspective. That's what I like doing. And I was just pointing out that sometimes there's a disconnect when ARC is talking because he's always talking about the micro. So I just was pointing out that that's where it's not even that much of a disagreement because I think
there's a major disagreement. There's a major disagreement, and here's the disagreement because Alan's position is if a woman disrespects you, it's your fault. So let me get this straight. As a black man in a black community, if black women disrespect black men en masse, that's black men's fault.
No, hold on. Again, hold on. Wait. I think ARC was saying if an individual woman that you're individually dealing with disrespects you 3 or more times, at that point it's your fault for dealing with it. I think we all can agree on that one.
But I'm raising a point that has been advanced from the position that Alan took 3-4 years ago to something that happened within the last 2 months. Kevin Samuels has asked black women the question on the floor: what do you owe the black community? What do you owe it?
What do they owe it?
So
that's it. He never got a straight answer.
I mean, I'm asking though. What when you put in that word "owe"? What do
black women owe the black community? They part of the black community, ain't they? What do they owe it? Or maybe the answer is they don't owe it anything. Maybe their function is just to take everything and give nothing. Not even a smile.
So wait a minute. I'm saying you confusing me now. You saying you got a passionate love for the betterment of the black community and not the community?
Whether I love it or not is irrelevant to Kevin's question. Kevin's question was, what do black women owe the black community? He couldn't get a straight answer from black women who called in all night, 20,000 plus people watching, and he couldn't get a straight answer. That's the problem.
But you yourself have in the past made arguments that black men don't owe the black community shit.
I have.
So why wouldn't you say that black women don't owe the black community shit either?
As a matter of fact, I make the case in my book, and here's the reason why. Black women want the right, and they have it, to be able to have sex with men that they want. But then they also want the right to get men that do shit for them that they need. Under that agreement, I say I'm out.
Okay, and that's what you should do. That's what you should do.
Hold on now. If we no affection, no protection, sis. That's how this works. That's the contract. That's the deal. Your womb for my protection. That's the deal. You don't want that deal, you don't have to take it. Then what you can do is you can go and rent a bay. You can go and pay for a bodyguard. You can go and take your ass and get some Krav Maga classes. You can get the Sloman Shield. That's what you can do. But we know the vast majority of black women ain't got it like that. They broke. We all know it. So what they then try to do is to try to shame you into it. You okay, sis? It's about race. Your mama black. I don't think so. I'm down to give whatever I need to give for the community if I'm getting something back. But see, what black women want is they want the large percentage of non-select men to give up the ghost for nothing. I don't think so.
Sound like you shouting a little bit, oh man.
I am. Hear me roar.
Yeah, go ahead and do your roar, brother.
All right.
So I wanted to respond to what ARC was saying about it's not her fault if she has an attitude.
Well, hold on. Shout out to Doc Phoenix in the building. Appreciate you coming on through. I think that was you. I just recently was listening to on King Sigma's channel. So shout out to you. Statistically, black men are more likely to meet obese black women with out of wedlock children compared to other groups of women. That is accounting for black men give black women far more leniency in regards to their weight than other groups of men. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Go ahead, Game Changer. You got the floor. You got the mic. And I apologize to anybody else super chats that I missed. Go ahead, Game Changer. You got it.
Okay, thank you. So I'm paraphrasing what ARC was saying, but he was saying that it's not the black woman's fault that she has an attitude. It is the black man's fault for putting up with it. I think that those are two separate things. Putting up with an attitude is completely separate from having an attitude. So if a person has an attitude, then it is their fault that they have one. However, if a man chooses not to or not to engage with them repeatedly, yes, that is his fault. That is his right. And that is his responsibility. But it doesn't negate the fact that it is that person's fault for having that particular type of deplorable behavior. Now, I think that there's nothing really wrong with a guy, whether he stands in it, 1, 2, 3 times or not. A guy could just say the first time, oh, she has an attitude, and walk away. He still has a right to critique that person. And if he comes across a high concentration of a particular people of a ethnic demographic with this particular personality set, he has every right to make his judgment, on that ethnic set. I'll leave it there. And
well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever read Dr. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, well, I would recommend it. It's a very good read.
Okay.
Matter of fact, that's a book I give a lot of shout outs to in my original Mo 1. I have a couple quotes from Dr. Stephen Covey. But anyway, for those who haven't read it, there's a lot of messages, valuable messages in his book. But one of the most prominent messages in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he divides all activities into 3 general categories: direct control, indirect control, and no control. So he calls direct control power, indirect control influence, and no control whining and complaining. And he says in most interactions between two or more human beings, when you're interacting with one or more human beings, that's automatically going to usually fall in the latter two categories. Only like exercising and eating right would fall into direct control. You have control over what you're doing and the ideal result of what you're doing. But if something depends on the cooperation of another human being, or in some cases favorable circumstance, what most people call luck, he calls that indirect control. Like I would say seduction is an indirect control activity. No control activity would be somebody complaining about the weather. I mean, ain't shit you could do about the weather. Ain't shit you could do about it. So what are you talking about it for? You know, it would be goofy to see somebody doing a weekly podcast always talking about how fucked up the weather is. What you gonna do about it other than move to another city that get better weather? So yeah,
Okay, so
I just don't. This is me. I'm not saying anybody should be just like me, but I'm telling you how I am. I don't concern myself with women who frequently exhibit a high degree of undesirable and or disrespectful behavior. Once I see that trait in a woman, I'm done with them. Period. I'm just done with them. I ain't gonna be. You ain't gonna never see me on my channel. Not saying you guys shouldn't do it on your channel. You got the right to do whatever you want to on your channel. I'm telling you, on my channel, you're never gonna see me doing channels just regularly complaining about, hey man, I'm tired of women doing this and I'm tired of women doing that, and women getting fucked up when they do that. The attitude is that's fucked up. Why am I even paying attention to them? Why am I even paying attention to a woman that's all the way fucked up? Shit, I'm trying to weed them the fuck out. And that's part of what Mo 1 deals with, is weeding out the women that you know you ain't gonna have no both sexual or non-sexual chemistry with. Quickly weeding them bitches out.
And see, this is the interesting thing.
So right, Obsidian.
Go ahead.
Why focus on the men who focus on such women if you have no control over them either? You see, I mean, you gave
because they bring my name up all the time.
Right, quick. I mean, because you gave the weather analogy, right? Yeah. About a person who complains about the weather every week. Now, one could argue that they are informing the masses that a hurricane is coming, not complaining that it is. However, I digress. I digress. However, and I see your point. You know, there are going to be people who every week announce a complaint about the weather. I think that is, you know, that's not really behavior that I condone. However, I also don't condone the behavior of somebody complaining about the person complaining about the weather every week. I think that is an infinite loop. It's like, I'm not going to watch.
Here's what you're leaving out that's important that I already explained to Bernard before you got up here again. See, if people left my name out and my talking points out, I wouldn't concern myself with them. I honestly wouldn't. I would just ignore them. The reason why I end up, as you say, emphasize those people who are whining and complaining about women is because inevitably most of them end up bringing up my name and or the contents of one of my books. That's what got me started, period. Responding to people talking about whining and complaining. I'm like, why you got my name in your mouth? Because see, here's what happened. You had a lot of people back 2, 3, 4 years ago criticizing me, saying, well, Alan Roger Curry, he got some good dating advice, but man, he never go in on the sisters, man. I think it's because he be defending them black bitches and he never go in on them. And he never says anything critical about these sisters like the rest of us do, man. He's pandering to these sisters. And then I would fire back.
Fair enough. So you're attacking the person who's complaining because they mentioned your name. I get it. And I get it. However, instead of for doing that, you're attacking the complaints. See, let's go back to the weather announcers analogy. Let's just say the weather person says Alan Roger Curry for whatever reason, and you decide to say that. It doesn't change the fact that the weather is still bad. Now, how that person chooses to express it, you know, in an emotional way or otherwise, is really irrelevant. The weather is bad, and I think that the people should know that. Now, I want to point out something else that was said earlier when you said how the newscasters or anybody, how they have to balance and point out the problem in other communities when they mention a problem in one. Generally speaking, they don't. You know, what I notice is that when something affects a individual community, even though it affects other communities on a much smaller scale, they don't have to mention it. For example,
I never said they had to. I never said.
Okay, well, they generally don't mention it. For example, you know, a police shooting of an unarmed black man, they don't really have to mention the percentage, or they don't really have to say, hey, unarmed Asian guys get shot too, because it really doesn't happen to the same extent, or, you know, with the, you know, or as often. I mean, we by doing that, we leave open to a counter argument. We leave ourselves open to a counter argument of all lives matter, et cetera, which dilutes the individual problem that addresses.
All right. Thank you, Game Changer. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Alan.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is that, you know, mating, no doubt, is a personal matter. But what is also true about mating is that it has an undeniable public or group component. Otherwise, there will be no need for weddings. Why do we have weddings in public? Why aren't the vast majority of weddings private then? We do that because we acknowledge that that type of commitment is a public statement. Just to use one example. So Kevin's question on the floor about what black women owe the black community goes beyond the question of one-to-one interaction. It goes to the question of what role do they have to play in mating to the larger black society? And what is the relationship to other black men in that society? And that's a real question. You can't talk about having a black community that's functional when you have arguably half of it feeling that they don't owe anything to the black community, and then demanding the other half, 80% of whom they're not sexually attracted to then do the heavy lifting of making the place habitable for them.
But come on, oh man, you read my book, Beta Male Revolution. What's my message to these men you keep talking about doing the heavy lifting? It's simply don't do it. Why? That's part of my coaching. Why is any man allowing himself, to use your terminology, to be a woman's cleanup man? Why? Why is they're not out here allowing himself to be in that role?
But they're not, though. And matter of fact, that's the crux of the current dust up between the Black Manosphere and Dr. Boyce Watkins. Dr. Boyce Watkins' argument is that if you don't care about black kids, you don't care about the black community, you don't care about black women. Black men in the Black Manosphere, including Minister Jap, O'Shea Duke Jackson, and others are arguing no. And matter of fact, Kevin Samuels himself directly spoke to Dr. Boyce Watkins. No, those black women don't care about the black community, because if they did care about the black community, one, they would get married to their baby daddy. Two, they wouldn't be banging dudes that ain't crap. They don't care about the black community. They want other people to care about the black community more than they do. So we go back round robin to the question again. Why are black women banging and reproducing with the worst of us? And how is that something that shows that they care about a black community? If anything, they don't care about it.
See, that's another indirect control activity. I mean, unless you the man who laid up with a woman and impregnated her so that she had a baby out of wedlock, my attitude is, why are you concerned? I mean, number one, for those men,
because Obsidian cares about the community. That's why.
I noticed that. I noticed that today.
Hold it.
You do.
Hold it.
I've always said that.
Hang on. Whether I do or don't, I keep going back to Kevin's question. So you would have to ask whether he cares or not about the black community. But here's one thing we do know. We do know that black women can't answer his question. We know that. They can't answer the question straight ahead. If you cared about the black community, why ain't you marrying the baby daddy? If you cared about the black community, why you keep messing around with black men who ain't sugar honey iced tea, and then expect black men who are about something but you ain't sexually attracted to bail you out?
But being objective, there's a number of questions that can be asked in both directions that a high percentage of those that gender could not be answered. For example, black women could ask black guys, why y'all be killing each other so much over stupid shit? Why y'all be shooting each other and killing each other over some stupid shit? Who would be able to give an intelligent, well thought out answer to that.
Sociologists at the University of Chicago who've been studying stuff for years.
That ain't is it black women? I mean black men. So you saying
Well, hold on. I think most
I'm
black
talking about
men.
the guys doing the shooting.
Oh, the guys doing the shooting. I don't think they have an intelligent answer. I think most non-shooting black men.
Oh
who
no,
make
I'm not
up
talking about
most
that. I'm
of
talking about
us.
the guys who are actually doing this shooting.
Yeah, but I think one difference is, well, okay, you're talking about if you're talking about people who are doing the shooting, then no, I can't answer that one. But I do think the majority of black men would have to say, yeah, that's some stupid shit and they need to stop. But to what Obsidian was saying, I think the majority of black women wouldn't say, oh yeah, that's some stupid shit we doing and we need to stop.
Exactly. As
A
matter of fact, there was somebody in the chat room earlier when I mentioned "you okay, sis," and I can't remember the exact words, so please forgive me, whoever said it in the chat room. But the words were to the effect, if I remember it right, was that nobody said anything about that. They're right. Black women didn't say anything about how dumb and ridiculous "you okay, sis" was, and that's part of the problem. And this is something else Kevin Samuels brings to light on his show. Why isn't there why is that question being asked by a black man and not black women, given the empirical fact that black women make use of social media more than anybody else? Why isn't there black women aren't asking that question of other black women? What do you owe the black community, sister? And
let's go back to that. You said, in my example, you said that there's black intellectuals such as credential sociologists who do offer explanations for why black men are killing other black men. Well, now going back to that, I do know black women who comment on other black women giving children out of. Matter of fact, I did a video recently where I brought out the sometimes uncomfortable issue of social economic class, social stratification. I can say, only loosely generalizing, that most women from upper middle class families, the bougie world, you might find some rare exceptions, but generally speaking, you don't have that baby out of wedlock shit, man. I got some close friends. I got one, for example, I'm thinking of. I got a woman from an upper middle class family. She got pregnant by a guy she was dating without being married to him. Her mother didn't speak to her for 5 fucking years. Her mother disowned her, called her a slut. She said, how you going to attract a high, what Kevin would probably call a high value man, but she said a high quality, how you going to attract a high quality husband with a baby out of wedlock? And that's how a lot of the people from the bougie operate, man. They tell their daughters, I got a frat brother, one of his close friends said that recently. He got 2 daughters of college age. He said, man, he said something to the fact that, hey, man, if my daughters come up pregnant, they on their own. I said, what, you saying you going to cut them off? He said, I don't know if I want to be quoted as saying that, but he said if any of them get pregnant before they get married, they on their own. So it's a difference between how a lot of sisters operate from the upper middle class, again, what's known as the bougie world, versus the lower. So they don't play that baby mama, baby daddy shit, man. Most upper middle class, I know parents that are like, hey, they tell their daughters, hey, if you open your legs, you better be responsible, because if you come out with a baby, I ain't gonna be in your corner.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know,
the point was that there are women who do, in more simple terms, there's bougie women who always criticize other black women for having all these babies out of wedlock and having multiple baby daddies. They think that shit's niggerish, in blunt terms. They think that shit's niggerish.
Okay. So my understanding of the Divine Nine, I'm talking about the sororities now. My understanding is that
sororities.
Right, but I'm speaking specifically of the sorority, since we're talking about black women and bougie black women in particular.
Okay.
My understanding is that a particular charge of those sororities is that they have a responsibility to each one teach one, that, if you will. Mm-hmm. Okay. If that's the argument, then I think they need to be taking the lead on the question that Kevin asked the ladies of his live. What do black women owe the community? There was a sister in the chat room named, and I want to make sure I got her name right, I Am Sugar B, and she said, why do you want black women to lead? Sister right here with a super chat, Queen Q, says, Obsidian, you asked the question, so I want to ask you, what is the answer? What do black women owe the community? I hear the question asked, but no answer is given. Once again, I go back to Dr. Jordan Peterson and what he said to Kathy Newman. Kathy Newman asked him, what do women have to do with what it is that you're doing? And his response was, what kind of men do women want? See, black women ain't gonna get out of this free. You're gonna have to do the heavy lifting on this. This is a question you have to take on and answer yourself. And it has to be in full view of the brothers. What do you owe the community?
Well, I think Sugar B is disingenuously implying that you're saying that black women have to, I don't know, build the community or something.
No, that's exactly not what I'm saying. I agree with you, Bernard. She is being disingenuous. The question was straightforward. What do you owe the community? What kind of men do you want? You have a role to play here. And it needs to be public. Brothers need to hear you lay it out. What do you owe the community? And how does it manifest? How does it manifest? If we're going to be a cohesive society, black first, black people, pro-black, all this stuff, Dr. Boyce Watkins and everybody are okay, then what do you owe the community, sister? It needs to be public. You need to say it in front of the brothers. Make it plain. What do you owe?
Well,
my manifest.
Well, Obsidian, I think what Queen Q is getting at is that, yes, the question gets asked all the time. I think not all the time. I think Kevin Samuels introduced that question, and it's a good question. Something I didn't really think about that much. At least I didn't think about it from that perspective. And he didn't really get a good answer. And now you're answering it right now, and you're not getting a good answer. So I think what Queen Q is getting at, Obsidian, I think she's just bluntly asking, Obsidian, what do you think they owe the community?
No, it's not what I think. It's what black women think. They need to make it. They need to put it on the wood. If they think that they don't owe the black community nothing, they need to say it. They just say it. If you think you don't owe black men anything, say that. Say it. Like you say everything else. Like you put everything else on blast. Say it.
Okay, I think what's being implied in the question, maybe not what you're exactly implying. I'll just say what Kevin Samuels, I think what Kevin Samuels was fishing for is for women to say that, yes, as women, what we owe to a community is to get on board with a man, the most upright, competent man that we could possibly get on board with him, submit to him, follow his lead, produce some babies, and do what we can to raise some good, productive citizens. I do believe that that's what Kevin Samuels was fishing for, that, yeah, a man's role and job in the community is to do, all the other stuff. I think that's what he was fishing for, is that women's role is to do that. And black women, a lot of them, have a really strong rhetoric against that. If you just listen to what's said and, pop culture and everywhere, yeah, they're pretty much anti that.
We have to kind of, ferret out and read the tea leaves. No. The man asked a straight up question. He was on the air for over 2 hours, nothing but black women calling in, and not one of them could give a straight answer. Bullshit.
Right. No, I agree. I agree it's bullshit, but I just wanted, just for the sake of just throwing out there what I think is a sensible answer to the question. I shouldn't have to be the one to answer it. Put it like, so I get your point. I shouldn't have to be the one to answer it, but I do believe that is essentially the answer that he bare minimum was fishing for.
And that's the reason why this is such an important question. And this is the reason why I made the argument earlier with regard to Black Manosphere critics. If they are critics, then what specific critique do they have with regard to the Black Manosphere? See, one of the problems I have with Aaron Fountain is that he keeps blurring the lines between the white manosphere and the Black Manosphere, then want to turn around and say that he's tracking the history of the Black Manosphere, but then want to talk to the one king of the Black Manosphere who actually cut his teeth in the white manosphere first. Make that make sense. I did that for a reason. Black people have a unique experience in this country, and I'm bringing it home to their goddamn doorstep. If you want to have a community, then that means people have roles. What role do black women play in the fucking community? Say it.
You're shouting again, Oman.
I am. Because that's the only way black women respond is when you act like a fool. They don't respond to brothers that have some degree of decorum, some degree of gentility. They call you gay. But when you act like a fool, now all of a sudden they can respond to that.
It just got next level goofy right now. Okay, now after she was being disingenuous all that time, and then the question got honestly answered, then she spin move pivoting to black women want black men to restore their relationship with each other first. How does that make any damn sense?
It doesn't. It's a bad faith statement. It was a very interesting question. What do black women owe the community? The fact that I am Sugar B can't or won't answer the question is part of a major problem.
I think I remember her on panels from back a while ago. I think is she a lawyer? I'm thinking of some other chick that used to be on panels. I think this is a lawyer.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, do they look different? Brown skin, fake hair. Like, is
Well, I'm gonna make the argument, play the little devil's advocate here. That's a flawed question. The question shouldn't be what do black women owe the community, because not all black women are monolithic. I think a slightly modified question should be for those black women who always emphasizing wanting the black community to be at its best. What do you all think you owe the community, or what you can contribute to reaching that objective? Because see, some black women, they ain't plugged into the black community. Number one, we all know you got swirlers. You got some black women. I met black women that don't even want nothing to do with it. Like I was just recently talking about the bougie world. There's a percentage of black women, usually like biracial type black women, and even some all black women, they got like 90% of their friends are white. They don't be tuning into no black community. So if you would ask them that question, they'd look at you like, what? What are you talking about? They would look at you like, nigga, please, I don't owe them shit. I don't even want to deal with them. You got other black women who are lesbians, and they have more allegiance to the LG, whatever them alphabets are, than they do the black community. So you can't ask that question of all black women. But again, specifically to the black women who they themselves always talk about the black community needs to be improved and I want to see the best. For those women, then that's a legitimate question.
Well, Kevin he's nearing 1 million subs on YouTube. He's nearing around 800,000 on Instagram. On YouTube, he pulls in at this point somewhere over 20,000 live a night. On Instagram, close at around 18,000. Black women are coming to him in droves, and they want what they want in terms of a high value man. We got that. Then his question is, for those black women who self-select here, what do you owe the black community? Crickets. Crickets. For the black women who made it clear the kind of black men that they want, for the black men for the sisters that flock to his shows night in and night out to the tune of an NBA stadium equivalent. Simple question: what do you owe the black community in return? Crickets. That's the problem. We have eliminated the swirlers. We have eliminated the lesbians. We're talking about black women who have self-selected in the Kevin show. They cannot answer the question. They can't. That's the problem.
So wait a minute. You saying all the black women that listen to Kevin Samuels want a black high value man?
All the black women that call in certainly do.
Okay.
And they made that very clear. And they can't answer the question. Now to go round robin back to the swirling question. Interestingly enough, Alan, there's a sister right now in Bernard's chat room named Truth Will Set You Free. Wow. Our role is to open our options like you black men do. These younger girls on point with divesting. So here we have a sister who supposedly is already out the door, sitting up on a black man's channel where he's made it clear he's for black couples getting together, talking about divesting. These swirlers ain't going nowhere. They do the same thing to Kevin. Talk all that swirling stuff and land right over on his channel, night in and night out. Stop it. What do you owe the black community? Because you ain't going nowhere else.
Well, let me answer this question since I see it on the screen. Calvin 82. And I guess Bernard's gonna give him that $5 response too.
Oh no, go ahead. I've been slacking on that.
I see what's your opinion. I don't have much, no lengthy opinion. I'm actually Facebook friends with his wife. His wife is from my hometown of Gary, Indiana, and so we have mutual friends.
Did you smash back in the day? Or
no.
Okay, all right, just asking.
But I should say that. Don't get me in trouble on here. But I just say this. Here's my one criticism, if nothing else, of Dr. Boyce. And I said this when I first got on YouTube. Matter of fact, this relates again to when you asked me that question, Bernard, when you did your first one-on-one. Asked me about what makes me irritated sometimes with questions. I've always said, man, and my brother gets on my case because I've been known to go out of my lane. I'll use the lane. You know, when it comes to certain subject matter and topics of discussion, for the most part, you got to stay in your lane. Now, when it comes to just offering random opinions, you can talk about anything. Like I can offer a random opinion about who's going to win the NBA Finals this year. I can offer a random opinion about what you need to do to lose 20 pounds. But using that example, I wouldn't do a bunch of regular podcasts about what it takes to lose weight because I'm not any type of credentialed nutritionist or health and fitness trainer. So that would be example of me, I would feel talking out of my lane. Going back to Dr. Boyce. Dr. Boyce recently has been, he came on YouTube under the expertise area of helping Black men and Black women improve their finances. If they already got wealth, how to manage it and invest it better. If they don't have it, how to accumulate it. And I think he needs to stay in that wheelhouse. But recently, he's been going out of that. It seemed like for clout chase, he's been mentioning Kevin. He's been mentioning Kwame and whoever getting in the realm of dating relationships, which, as far as I know, he ain't got no book out there to do with dating and relationships. So it's like, boys, bro, stick to what you're good at. Talking about the stock market, investments, that's your wheelhouse. Quit clout chasing. But as far as to do with his love life, sex life, hey man, you know, everybody got their opinion. I would just end up probably echoing some opinions that have already been expressed. I say if he's happy, he's happy. I did have my thoughts though when he first got engaged because I read body language very well. And at this point, I'll just leave it there.
I want to know about that body language. I'm serious.
She just okay. Well, I'll go ahead and say it. And you know, again, I hope his wife not offended because again, she's my Facebook friend. But you know, I that's one thing I toot my horn among my clients is that I'm a good reader of body language. And when he proposed, man, she did not have the body language of a woman who was enthusiastically ready to accept a marriage proposal. He at one point he had to say, "This is when you say yes." Yep. That's a big motherfucking red flag when you have to prompt your fiance to be to say yes. And she kept saying stuff like, "Oh, boys, you're too much. Oh, boys, you're too much." It was basically like, "Damn, motherfucker, why you put me on the spot in front of a video camera? Why you put me on the spot?" I honestly, I didn't think it would even last this long. I'm just gonna be real. I thought, I was like, oh shit, I don't even know that's gonna end up with a wedding. But they got married. To their credit, I wish them the best. I'm not casting no dispersion on them. I hope they are happy together. But that proposal left me feeling uncomfortable.
On that note, I guess we can go to Reverend RJ or
It's time to pass it. It was a little back and forth. I think some common ground was reached though in the back and forth, you know, with ARC Game Changer, Obsidian, and whatnot. I think some common ground was reached, the difference between the micro and the macro and all of that. But we can certainly pass it to brother RJ. But Big Mag the Fisher in the building, shout out to you, appreciate that. Red Sings the Blues, he said the thing with critique is if someone makes a valid point, the men in the space do the same thing they do to Kevin Samuels and Cape for the content creator. I always critique the people and ends up that way.
You know what I would say to Red is, okay, so what specific critique do you have of the Black Manosphere right now? I mean, I invite you to join us on the panel. You can let us know what specific critique of the Black Manosphere do you have? Specific.
David Johnson in the building. He says swirlers aren't going anywhere simply because they can't. No other group of men wants to deal with their dysfunction. So stop the cap. Shout out to David Johnson. Black Wolf Inc. in the building. He says, Captain, give I read. No. Sweet Melody Speaks in the building. So thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate that. Ain't no RBR, you ain't coming up. I see you down there. You ain't coming up, RBR. Mr. Shane Bitches in the building. All right. I don't know.
Never know, man.
We're gonna keep that one moving as well.
Hey, you know, I got love for RBR, man. He's generally been respectful to me, so I don't, you know.
No, I let him up sometimes, depending on the conversation, and I can't do it right now.
I think I told you once before, man. When you let him up that one time, and like 90 seconds into his commentary, he started playing that Looney Tunes. My wife happened to be watching, man. You made me and my wife, man. We were like laughing from our stomachs, dude. That shit was
Yeah. I'm gonna get that. Yeah, now that I know how to do the drops real quick, I'm gonna get that. Yeah, I gotta get that. Gotta get that on deck, ready to go for RBR. but RJ, man, thanks for your patience. I appreciate your patience. You got the floor. You got the mic.
Hey, Bernard. Hey, peace to everyone. Thanks for having me on. It's been a while. It's always a pleasure interacting with you brothers. I'll make mine real quick because, like I mentioned, I have to sort of tread lightly on this because some things don't need to be divulged. And Obsidian, if you read the email, and this is my gripe because what I emailed you, Obsidian, if you could pull it up, we wouldn't be here where we are with that situation. And we would have taken heed to that when we initially talked about that 2 years ago. My concern with that is because while I don't have any rights to this Black Manosphere topic, while I don't have any, where I don't have any stock in it, if you will, getting those things together, like when we had that panel, and let me, for those who are like, what's going on, let me kind of backtrack here. What my gripe is, first, let me preface my gripe. My gripe is, guys, let's make sure we have our business and our affairs in order. So certain things, certain rights, certain things that are afforded to us, intellectual property, so forth and so on, can't be potentially swiped from under us. Because I brought some things to Obsidian's attention. Wasn't sure if he was aware of it. And when I had these conversations with you guys, some of the reason why I kind of just fell back, because you get to the point where you feel like brothers aren't as serious about this life like you are. Like, I mean, I'm saying you, I'm talking about myself, because, I do what I do in real life. And I came on here with my name, right? No alias, none of that. And the thing is, the thing is, what I began to notice was, again, we can talk about these honeys, we can talk about these sisters, all that good stuff, man. But, I initially came around because you're hoping that you can link up with like-minded brothers and be more impactful and do more business and make some things shake. And because of the way out in which I was reared, being, as you just mentioned a second ago, being someone who has a pro-Black foundation and things of that nature, having honor and some integrity and some care and some patience for your community and for those who look like you. And wanting to cater to those audiences, it bothers me, and I'm actually just absolutely astounded by the limited amount of growth from the sector that we've seen. Considering all the money that we donate, considering all the things that we've discussed, and now someone can just come along and position themselves to where they can either monetize off of it, Obsidian, based off what I emailed you. And I'll send you proof too if you haven't already researched it yourself, because I'm not pulling that out of a hat. And then furthermore, we're in a position where someone can just come through now once that is finalized and say, hey, I want you guys just shut down, no more talking, because then they would be in a position to where they can dangle something over your head. And all they would have to do is send that to YouTube and shut this entire thing down. This thing that was supposed to be built for Black men who didn't have a voice and haven't had a voice to be able to correct our image, to be able to counter other arguments. And just like that, this thing can be countered. We need to get on that right away, man. Okay, that's a serious thing right there. Fortunately, it's a Black man. Okay, but and there needs to be some negotiation going on. There needs to be some talks going on to where maybe that brother be willing to relinquish that. It's just like it's like buying. It's like when a sale is pending on a house and you like, hey, I want that house. You got to go to the person who put the money down, and you got to go to them now and say, hey, I want this house bad enough, and then you got to give them an incentive that they find appealing to make them cancel the sale with the bank. And that's pretty much where we are in this situation, man. And so when we talk about what Black men aren't doing, we talk about Black men being broke, stingy, and cheap. We talked about this 2 years ago, and now the chickens have come home to roost. That's a serious situation I sent you, man. and it made me very upset. That's
JR,
why.
you're not exactly explaining what the situation you
Okay.
sent
All
him
right.
is,
So let me.
and so it's kind of confusing for the
Okay.
audience and me. But if
Okay.
the situation is something that need to be discussed behind the scenes, we can
Okay.
definitely
What
discuss it
I was
behind the
gonna
scenes.
thank you, Bernard. I was gonna be quiet at this point and let Obsidian know how much would he liked for us to take with that. That's the reason I'm kind of speaking in a vague sense, because like I said in the beginning, I have to tiptoe a little bit. So Obsidian, I can cut this off now, no issue. But if you're willing to speak with it publicly, we can go.
I'd rather not.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna leave
enough.
it there. We're gonna leave it there. That sounds like a
fair enough. Y'all have a great one. Okay, thank you for your time.
Discussion. Absolutely.
Appreciate it. All right.
Absolutely. All right. Appreciate you, RJ. SKC in the building. Go ahead. You got the floor. You got the mic.
Hey, what's going on, Bernard?
Here comes
what's up?
Here comes the cool.
Oh man, yeah. I was going back to the whole thing with Fountain Jr. because I think you had like his avatar or whatnot in your thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
And just real quick, just so you'll know, I wasn't taking a veil swipe at MOT out. It was a honest observation, about that thing early.
Oh no, that what you said. I'm assuming that Aaron G. Fountain is politically liberal or progressive, and then there is a portion. There's a few people. There's some people in the Black Manosphere that operate that way as well. That are
I was just saying it was just interesting.
And one of them in MOT that you've had some a little bit of back and forth with. So I just assumed you was talking about him, but I didn't even think it as a person who shot, unless you just think saying somebody is liberal and progressive is it's not pejorative if it's descriptive. You're saying that's what he is. You're not insulting him by saying that. So that's why I just said that's what he's talking about. I mean, he wears that flag proudly, so it's not an insult. Just state it.
I was just letting it clear, man. I wasn't trying to.
Oh no, you good. That's why I said it, because I didn't think it was no big deal.
Yeah, but you remember Obsidian? I think that was well over a year ago or whatnot. We made those written replies to Fountain Jr. when he was first writing about the Black Manosphere in various spaces and so forth. But back then, you can I actually looked into his academic work, and the majority of it, it's about 3 write-ups that focuses on the 60s and the 70s. One talked about the student movement in Naptown. That was about free speech. Another one in the 60s and 70s was talking about the right to sit during the Pledge of Allegiance. Another one was about the war in high schools in San Francisco and the anti-Vietnam War movement and so forth. In the last one, he focused in on, the beginning of it focused in on a guy named Steve Wasserman, who, as a high school student, he went to Cuba. And ever since then, he's been a sympathetic figure towards Castro. Even in the article or the write-up that he made, there's a picture of Mr. Wasserman brandishing a copy of Miles' Little Red Book. And I thought that was interesting because throughout the Manosphere, a lot of times when they get into nuanced conversations about history, a lot of times people will make mention of the Moynihan Report or blackdemographics.com and the graph that talks about back in the 60s and 70s where there was this huge break between Black men and Black women and so forth in marriage. Individuals will state things about how Thomas Sowell has made mention of during that time in the 40s and 50s, Walt Williams the same. And it's odd to me that such a person can, when it comes to his academic life, he can make write-ups that take on the, I would say, the apologetic viewpoint of the individuals who were basically taking on an anti-Americana view. Well, when it comes to the Black Manosphere, he criticizes and demonizes the individuals without looking into their hard arguments. So that was kind of interesting to me. For instance, there's one of his articles where at the end of it he states that scholars should take more time to look into the arguments of these ones of the past that were going against like the anti-war movement. But then again, when he comes here, he doesn't take that same approach. He just, it's the same thing, just ad hominem, or just trying to take little clips to make individuals look bad. And it just goes into the whole thought of him not being an objective critic. I'll put it that.
What it does is it invites motivation. It invites speculation as to his motivations. My argument is, and I made this already publicly, is that this is not a academic exercise for Fountain. This is a very emotional one. Rooted in his very difficult upbringing.
Correct.
And many of the points that the Black Manosphere discuss directly intersect with his lived experience, and they call it cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
How does he reconcile what we're talking about with what he's lived?
And JT Hellstrom, I think he knows a little bit about it because when I was doing the read up on it, he made this comment. He said, "We have our flaws, but we are not irredeemable." Wasn't Wasserman at Berkeley? Yes, Wasserman was at Berkeley, and he still publishes many books that are basically apologetics to Fidel Castro. So it's just weird to me how you can have, in an academic sense, an individual who will uphold such individuals, but when he comes here, he will state that Black men don't have an argument. That doesn't make any sense.
He is full of shit.
Well, go ahead, Ed. You got the floor. You got the mic.
I mean, before, I'll say this on Aaron, before we didn't have obviously you had people like Obsidian, BGS, and more. We have intellectuals in the so that's not what I'm saying. But now we have actual people that can actually meet him with accreditation, with academic. And obviously I know Alan, you're educated. You're the master communications. What I'm talking about though is now we got people with PhDs in the shit we talk about. So all he got to do is talk to them. Dr. T.S.N. Johnson, Dr. Tommy Curry, Green Gorilla, Ron O'Neill, and the end. He won't do that because he's scared, because he knows where the line of questioning is going. So that shuts people like that down.
Check this out, Ed. In that,
so I don't.
In that last one that I mentioned, where he talked about Steve Wasserman, he called up Steve Wasserman in order to have a conversation with him so that he could.
Because he's going to be sympathetic.
The world.
Hold on, what did he call him up for? Say that again, SKC.
He called him up so that he could create his paper and present his viewpoints, or to the world. However, when he came to this space, how many people said, "Hey, give me an interview. Let's talk one-on-one." I know for a fact, Obsidian wrote him as one-to-one and said, "Hey, we can have this discussion," but yet he won't do it, and it just shows you the hypocrisy, because you can do that in the academic world, but you can't do that here. But yet you brandish your future PhD before the crowd. So which one is it? Are you trying to be just a troll, or are you trying to act to?
Well,
I argue that.
Go ahead, Obsidian.
I argue that Fountain is a victim of what many Black men are victims of, and that is he cannot publicly discuss his emotional inner life. See, we don't allow that in Black American life. The only people that are sanctioned to do that are Black women. Black men are not sanctioned to do that. And that's part of the problem here.
Yeah, I hear what y'all are saying. I mean, normally I would say this is like relevant, but it does become relevant when Boyce Watkins is essentially doing the same shit today. It's actually kind of funny because Boyce is actually pissed off Black men that are not in this space. They deal with more of the sports stuff, Carcino Ticket TV, so they deal with kind of Kwame Brown on that front. But because Boyce is like getting behind certain people like Charlemagne and stuff like that to kind of attack like Kwame, talk about he's a cult leader and do, you know, shit Boyce does. Now you're about to see a flurry of videos that's gonna replay Boyce Watkins' greatest hit. So basically all the stuff that we dealt with in the Manosphere already with Boyce, you know, all the women turning on him, Michi Eggs, Paris, all them. These people, new black men are finding that for the first time, and now they about to ram that up just to deal with him. And it's interesting because Boyce is selling stepfatherhood to black men. The main reason I came up, because I wanted to, so first thing I want to ask, is this like critiquing Obsidian, or is this talking about like things that's been talked about like marriage? The main thing I wanted to kind of address was the marriage piece.
Oh no, that's not what the conversation was at all. It was the title of the stream is Obsidian versus Manosphere critics. The Manosphere critics would fall into the category of Boyce Watkins and Aaron G. Fountain and people like that. And somebody tried to smuggle ARC into being the Manosphere critic, and then Obsidian said ARC name one too many times, and ARC popped up. And so,
all right, so I'll address that. I'll be respectful. I'll address that in a video, and it's not like a bad thing. I think there's a lot to chew on there because that's a criticism that I've had levied. Like people have come up on my shit. This idea that we are like we just niggas want to get married and they listen to us. They don't want to be married. So I'll address that in a video. As far as the critics though, okay, Boyce Watkins is in game. So the thing when you look at these academics is these. I hate to make a Matrix reference, but these academics are, as Kwame will call them, gatekeepers. A lot of these dudes are like agents in the Matrix. They have powers of access, power of ability to use their academics or whatever in order to give them certain credibility for people that don't really know what they're about. But see, they're still subject to the same rules of the system. What does that mean? Obsidian already explained it with them not being able to talk about their personal shit. Boyce Watkins also, he has to operate with certain rules. He cannot have a true academic candid conversation. Like perfect example, Alan's on here. Alan can come on here, have his opinion, and no matter where it goes, doesn't have this fear about where it's gonna go. So it's like I gotta make sure they don't say this or say this because otherwise I'm gonna be exposed. That's not how he comes to the conversation. A lot of these dudes refuse to talk to anybody because they very much so understand it only takes a couple of questions for you to crush them. Perfect example, Umar Johnson. Umar has already admitted, he told me, and I'm going to say this and then I'm done because that's not really what I want to talk about. But Umar has already said, oh, well, the black women don't run the black community. What black women, white men, what white supremacy runs the black community, black women manage it. You just admitted what I've been saying. I didn't say like that your general manager, as far as what you know, runs, your office or your plant or whatever. Just because they're not the owners. I've never said black women own shit. They're the ones in power to run it. So by him saying that, he's already shown me, you know what I'm talking about. But see, regardless of what people's feelings on that here, he won't be candid about that because he has a financial incentive not to be. And that's why they fear us. They fear us, whether we disagree or not, is because they know there's certain things about the community they cannot readily discuss. They just can't because it's going to blow their whole shit up. And that's why they won't talk to us. That's why I'm very dismissive. All we need is somebody to be able to counter them. If they say you don't make enough money, we got people that's made money. If they say you're not married, we got people that's married. If you say you ain't academically strong enough, we got people that's PhD. All we need is people with the credibility to counter any point they have and then show why are you afraid to talk to them. T.S. Johnson ain't gonna bite your head off. He's an academic. And then that just disproves it. And then for our incoming audience, we show that. It's not that they're the ones afraid to debate us, not in reverse. And I'll leave it at that.
All right. Shout out to Sweet Melody Speaks. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Go ahead, General. You got the floor. You got the mic. General, are you there? Because he was in the back chat for a while. I forgot about him. He's probably not even here no more. He probably been stuck in that back chat for so long. General, going once, going twice. Well, he's on mute, so I'll let him sit there for now. Brother Xavier, go ahead. You got the floor. You got the mic.
Peace. Brother Bernard, everybody else on the panel, Brother O, the notorious ARC is here. What's good, brothers? It's crazy, man, because when you think about the people who criticize certain brothers over here, and I've spoke about this before, when you think about people like Fountain, and particularly, I mean, these guys are part of the Black society that we are all aware of. I mean, because think about it. Black people, we kind of operate in a post-op kind of way, right? We don't do a lot of preemptive stuff, right? And you look at the spear per se, it kind of comes from a preemptive angle, right? Stop this illegitimacy, stop this broken family, stop this, whatever, right? Stop this stuff preemptively. And in Black society, there's this post-op shit. It's like we don't want to prevent the cancer. We want to go ahead, get the cancer. Now let's figure out how we're going to fix it. Now let's figure out how we're going to cure it. And that's kind of where these people come from. They come from the angle of make all the bad decisions, do all the wrong shit early in life. Don't worry about it. When you get to be 30s and 40s, somebody going to come along and fix it for you. Somebody going to come along and turn back time and all this kind of foolishness. That's where we are now. And I think the problem people have with the brothers over here and how they speak and the things that they say, they are trying to come at it from a proactive kind of thing. All right. It's proactive. People are proactively telling you, get your money up, get your shit up, get your life right. Stay away from these chicks who got all these kids. Stay away from these chicks who are ratchet, so on and so forth. But people don't want to hear that. People want to hear, well, even if she do come with 3 kids, you can help her out. You can save her kids. You can do all this kind of nonsense. All of that shit is freaking retroactive, man. You're coming in the back end. And Black society has a tendency to look at things that way. Go ahead, let shit be broken, let shit be raggedy, let shit be ratchet, and then later on, let's come around and fix it. And the problem is a lot of brothers over here reject that premise because, see, we're so used to living inside of that premise, man. Most of us have stories that we can tell anecdotally, all right, about the things we saw, about the things we've lived through, all right? The experiences in our own lives or the experiences in lives of people that we know and are close to. So we know what it looks like. We see this. We've seen it. Some of us have survived it, and I mean survived it. And now brothers have woken up and they say, look, none of this is right, all right? None of this is right for me. It may be right for the rest of Black society or pockets of Black society, but this is not right for me. And to challenge that theory of coming into things from the back end and fixing the broken crap has been totally, if it hasn't been debunked, at the very least, it's being denied. And people are they're not just with it anymore. From what I hear on these airways, brothers are not with that kind of crap anymore. And I think people don't like it. It's not like it's new. It's just that now it's being heard. And people don't like what they're hearing. And the sounds that are coming out of these airways, not even their earplugs can save them from it. But that's all.
All right, good stuff, brother Xavier. Good, definitely good stuff. I've pretty much arrived at the end here. We can go round and round. Anybody got go around the table? Anybody got any final words? Any closing thoughts? Anything to say? I'll pass it to ARC. You got any closing words for us?
Well, it was good to participate in a lengthy panel discussion. I just would say, I think Obsidian already said this, whoever else already said this, the Manosphere needs to be scrutinized and criticized as long as the criticisms are intelligent, objective, well thought out. And I think somebody was suggesting whether or not I'm a critic or not a critic. I think the most valid criticisms would come from someone who's been an active part of the Manosphere for a number of years. If you haven't really been active in the Manosphere, whether it's the worldwide Manosphere or the Black Manosphere, I mean, how valid and how legitimate are your criticisms? Anyway, everybody enjoy the rest of their day.
All right, thanks, ARC. Glad to have you back. You brought back panel ARC for a little bit, man. We enjoyed it.
Kind of missed that guy. Kind of missed that guy.
All right, game changer. Go ahead. You got it.
Yeah, just thanks for having me. Greatly appreciate you, Bernard. And yeah, thanks a lot.
All right. Oh man, take us home. Oh, come on, Obsidian. Really at the you're gonna do that at the end. You're gonna do that at the end. He fell asleep. Shout out to Fantastic. Obsidian is taking one of them old nigga naps right now. But shout out to David Johnson real quick. Boy, am I?
Oh, I was muted. I didn't even know I was muted. My bad.
Oh no, yeah, I was. Yeah, you was having some kind of feedback, so yeah, I muted you for a second.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But yeah, go ahead. You got it.
Yeah. Well, Alan left, so I was going to ask. He seems to be familiar with some of Mr. Fountain's critiques of the Manosphere. I was curious to ask him, what did he think that applied to the Black Manosphere, the critiques that Mr. Fountain has made, because he seems to be in agreement with Mr. Fountain's critiques of the Manosphere. And I was curious to know what of Fountain's critiques would be applicable to the Black Manosphere. I'll be curious to know what that would be. But in any event, yeah, this is a very good conversation, and we need to continue it. We're moving into, I think the big problem, or one of the big problems for pretty much everybody, it's not just a Black Manosphere thing, but when I say everybody, I'm talking about Black America as it appears online, is that this is a very dynamic period that we're in. Events are moving rapidly, and you get a sense of kind of whiplash because things are moving so fast. And it is a challenge, present company included, to keep up with the day-to-day and what often seems like minute-to-minute developments in the Black Manosphere. Right now I'm gearing up to write another book. And one of the challenges is to put into literary prose just how much things have changed in the past year alone. So I would like to caution everybody to every so often take a step back and survey the landscape and then move forward. Otherwise, you run the risk of talking about stuff that happened last year or 2 years ago, because things are moving just that quickly. That's it.
All right. Shout out to David Johnson, Tavares Wiley. Shout out to you. Shout out to who else we got in here? Snuggles in the building. You want your little I quit playing the drops today. I'm in the middle of reorganizing them. I don't even got them all there ready to go. I do think yours is still there. So hold on. Shout out to Black Wolf, says good show, Captain. We need more discussions like these. Shout out to Tank Johnson, says what would be the cost to set up a Crossfire roundtable discussion with Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Dr. Ron Neal, Dr. Boyce, and Dr. Umar on the other side? You would have to ask those gentlemen. I tend to believe that Umar don't want to, or no, definitely Boyce. They don't want to sit down with Dr. Tiasan Johnson. I don't think so. I don't think that'll happen. But all right. That's gonna wrap it up. I'd like to thank everybody who came through today, who participated in this in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate each and every one of you. And we are Obsidian. You going live tonight on your channel?
I have no idea, man.
All right.
I'm easing back into things, so just stay tuned.
The algorithm is gonna forget about you, man. Don't take that much
Yeah.
time off now.
I'm going live in a bit.
Okay, cool. Y'all make sure y'all swing on over to Game Changers channel. The link to his backup channel, which is his main channel now, has been in the chat. So you should be subscribed to it. Go subscribe to Game Changer. Y'all can go over there and listen to him. And with that said, we are out of here. Peace.